In one of the best apartment buildings to live in 2025, an older guy is sitting in a room that looks quite fancy, slowly sipping a cup of coffee and then looking out the window balcony. He might look like just an average guy, but this older guy is actually Director Baekhi of the HK Trading Company. Wherever he goes, the employees have to bow politely. In the morning, he already drank a cup of coffee at home. Then coming to the company, he had another big cup of tea. After a walk to supervise the employees in the outer rooms, they seem to work very seriously, but the deeper you go inside, especially the break rooms and training rooms of the company, they are actually places that host real money betting. The big shots just throw money around like leaves, and every table has a few stacks of cash for betting. Going deeper into the next room, it is exactly the place where they put the over-under gambling machines. He just strolls from the outside to the inside like that with a very satisfied look on his face. The next room is a place for card games, casinos, and all kinds of stuff. And lately the guy nicknamed Lizard comes here all day long. It turns out he is the type of guy who will slip away immediately without leaving a single trace if anyone spots him. With his job as the head of the apartment management board, if he is willing to pay his debt in full, his salary is actually pretty high. This time he has a meeting with Director O. It turns out this meeting is just to make excuses for the fact that this director owes the company a ton of money and has no money to pay, so he had to be threatened a bit to calm down. Not only that, this company also lent money to a few other directors so much that they had to run and hide. Director Choi is the exact next victim. He was watching a concert when suddenly a group of people chased him, making him run around in a panic, and he did not even have the time to give the bouquet of flowers to the girl in the stands. Running to the equipment room, thinking he got away. But who would have thought the company guys already blocked him right in front? He panicked and confessed right away that he himself had no money to pay. His mouth said he had no money, but in his active account, there was still up to 300 million won. So he was forced by the company to sign a money withdrawal, and at the same time, cancel his wife's life insurance to pay the debt. Not only that, Director Park even took the land compensation money that his family was supposed to get. Meanwhile, Haji over here is joining a contest at a kindergarten, and she won, bringing home first place for the whole family. You would think that was her family, but it turns out she is just a stand-in for the contest. Her best friend looked openly annoyed, saying that at least she should have acted the part completely, instead of just focusing on the first prize like that. That night, Ha planned to talk to her older sister about the fact that she failed the bar exam last time. Who would have thought, before she could even say a single word, her sister threw a gift box right in front of her. Because this is an expensive designer outfit but fits a lawyer's job perfectly, her sister bought it for her. Looking at this gift box, she did not have the heart to tell the truth. Her current position right now is a consultant specializing in handling defamation and fraud cases. Meanwhile, Director Park is going mountain climbing with some big shots working in the police force. Hae Kang, while mountain climbing, took on carrying all the bags for those guys. After that, he even prepared food for everyone and all sorts of gifts as if to win them over, and these gifts were all luxury items or very hard to find. It turns out the things he does are just to take care of his sick older brother, Yi-man. The amount of money he transferred to Yi-man was incredibly huge, catching him by surprise. So Yi-man also advised Hae Kang not to keep managing the casino like that because it is both difficult and dangerous. But Hae Kang thought that his brother must earn enough money to be able to be independent, because with the current amount of money, just running around everywhere would not leave much at all. When he got back to the company, suddenly that head of the apartment management board from the other day made a huge fuss because he is a VIP now. But he started borrowing way too much and the guys did not dare to lend him anymore, so he was screaming and yelling. Luckily, he arrived in time to settle things smoothly. Otherwise, if that guy just stood there demanding compensation, they would be totally screwed. At the Green Pine Garden, some super rich guys are gathering together into a club to talk about faction matters, propping this guy up to be president and all that. Then the bureau chief dropped by. He smooth-talked to win over every single T-screen, but eventually someone cut him off, saying this is not a fan club meeting. If he wants to join this exclusive club, the joining fee will be 10 billion. Because among the members here, no one is just rich, there are only super rich people. The bureau chief heard this number and his jaw dropped. He went back and discussed with his subordinate that he should have pocketed more, embezzled and taken more bribes to have enough. Because every day, no matter how hard he tries, he only makes about 2 billion, so the subordinate suggested a trick. That is to siphon money from Hae Kang, a guy who can do anything, running a whole casino disguised as a trading company. His debt collection skills must be said to be incredibly cunning. Hearing that, the bureau chief immediately went to find him. He forced him to cough up 10 billion, while he had already paid off so many people, leaving him with hardly anything now. But because this guy is his backer, he just had to suck it up. So the very next day, while Hae Kang was getting some coffee to drink, Suddenly, a bunch of employees were taken away by the police, shocking him to the core. That bureau chief acted so fast that all of He Kang's guys were completely locked up. He even staged all sorts of scenarios to use as an excuse to arrest them, and right at the exact moment they were calling He Kang too. That very night, he ran to the bureau chief's house and gave him all the money he currently had, but in the end he only let him bail out his subordinates. As for his only older brother, Yi-Man, he was still locked up because he needed to keep him as a hostage. What is even more terrible is that he gave him exactly 3 months to scrape together the full 10 billion. After saying that, he immediately went into the house without saying another single word. Going back to his student days, He Kang had a bunch of strangers barging right into his house for no clear reason. It turns out his dad had borrowed 30 million from them, but had no money to pay. Now he had to become the collateral instead of his own dad. Yet when he went to find him, he shunned him, and even told those guys to throw him out as if he had never been his son. Then, in that pouring rain, Yang Man stepped up to hold an umbrella for him, and said that he should find his own dream again while staying by his side. As time went by, He Kang had fulfilled his duty as a younger brother and as a son, so Yi-Man did not want him to keep having to save him anymore. After that, all the subordinates gathered at He Kang's house. He just wanted everyone from now on to take care of their own lives, and as for everything else, just letting him shoulder it alone was fine. Everyone had tracked down all the documents and evidence related to the crimes of that bureau chief, but they did not dare to bring it to light for fear that he would ruin the lives of them all. So the 3 subordinates had just stood in the middle of the street saying their goodbyes, and then 2 seconds later, the whole gang came back and stood in front of He Kang, hoping to continue tagging along with him to rescue Yi-Man. So the very next day, the 4 of them started going around collecting debts, selling apartments, and doing all sorts of things with all kinds of people. But by the end of the day, they still could not collect much money, and finally, the whole group could only come up with a way to organize a really big wedding to rake in a few $100 million. The groom was exactly He Kang, which made him incredibly mad, but for the common goal of the whole group, he had to accept it. The result was beyond expectations when the gangster guys who had hung up their swords and quit the business all gathered fully. The wedding gift money was so much that it even spilled out of the box, and the bride was exactly Ha. She was a bit stunned because she was informed to only come as a guest, not to be a bride. But after hearing about the amount of money she would receive, up to 5 million won, her eyes lit up and she closed the deal right away. So the wedding was held just like that. The 2 walked hand in hand down the aisle under the cheering of the gangster guys. Next up was a performance by the 3 younger guys that was incredibly funny and noisy, making the atmosphere more lively than ever before. While everyone was clapping and dancing super enthusiastically, the bride could only stare around wide-eyed, not understanding what the heck was going on, and even less expecting the groom to happily join the music too. When it came to the photo session, the bride and groom had to kiss. Everyone around kept shouting, "Kiss, kiss," making Ha blush bright red, and she turned to look at He Kang, but he just calmly said, 2 million more, making her eyes light up. She puckered her lips and kissed him right away without any hesitation. He Kang looked at her, fully helpless, but did not know what to do either. So the 2 really kissed each other in the middle of the wildly cheering crowd. When the wedding ended and everyone went home, the 2 finally had a chance to sit down and talk to each other. Handing over the cash on the spot, he gave her 7 million, but she still complained about all sorts of things, because actually, that kiss did not even touch lips. It was him who slipped his finger in between the 2 of them, after all. Anyway, she was the one who closed the deal first, so in the end, she did not know what else to say, and could only advise him with one sentence: live as a lawful person. Summing up, after all that time, he had only gathered 4.5 billion and was still short a whole 6.5 billion. At this time, the subordinates finally brought up the debt of that apartment manager. But the hard part was that he was currently wanted for the crimes of embezzling and having affairs with the residents. So the whole group was determined to catch him before the police could find him. After a threat to jump off the building, he finally got scared and confessed everything. He said that in his apartment complex, there are up to 9,800 households, and the money that could be made from there is completely capable of reaching 10 billion. To verify this information, He Kang immediately used his super-fast mental math skills. Just looking at that guy's notebook, he calculated that the money he embezzled reached up to 4 billion won. While that apartment complex only has over 2,000 households, seeing a whole money-making future right in front of their eyes, He Kang and his subordinates were incredibly happy and immediately decided to do everything they could to earn that full 10 billion won. Seeing a future right before his eyes with up to 10 billion, He Kang immediately had his guys untie him and then gave a coat to that lizard to keep warm. Next, he asked him how exactly to get that 10 billion. He answered bluntly that he just needed to become the president of this apartment complex, and then he would have it. Before he could even finish his words, he was tied up again by the subordinates because he only talked about crazy nonsense. But before the subordinates could even touch him, he screamed for mercy. Then he told He Kang that he just needed to approach the vice manager, the person who is currently the head of management and also the apartment president. Because these two guys have been colluding with each other for a long time. As long as he could approach them, there would be a chance to take over this whole apartment complex. Once again, he said things that sounded incredibly hard to believe. So He Kang immediately told his subordinates to grab his arms and legs and throw him straight downstairs. But as soon as he was dragged away, he kicked and flailed around wildly. He continued to confess that he saw a notice posted in the elevator about electing a block representative. After that, he immediately kneeled down and begged him, saying that only when he becomes a block representative will he be qualified to run for the president position. But the hard part is that nobody even cares about this block representative position, so just by running for it, he would almost certainly be chosen. The very next second, the whole gang was standing in front of that notice. He Kang snatched a flyer and decided to register as a candidate. After that, the whole group had to stay up all night because He Kang kept pacing back and forth and did not let anyone sleep. But having said that, deep down he still could not possibly believe how an apartment complex could dig up 10 billion from anywhere. So that old fox eagerly told him to ask about the long-term maintenance fund himself to see how much money was left. Because that fund is exactly the big stomach that is bigger than everything everyone is thinking about. Acting on it right away, He Kang immediately called the female staff at the management board to ask how much money was left in the long-term maintenance fund. She also honestly answered that currently the fund still has up to 17.8 billion. Knowing this news, the whole gang was as happy as if they were throwing a party. Everyone's eyes lit up and they decided to follow this case to the very end to seize all of that money. As for Lizard, he claimed he had just done a great merit, so he acted incredibly arrogant and even bossed He Kang's subordinates around to go make coffee for him. Meanwhile, over here the mothers were teaching their kids how to protect nature and its rules by letting the kids plant trees in the flower bed. Everything was going very happily when suddenly a resident lady found it an eyesore, so she rushed over to pick a fight. She argued that the apartment's rules do not allow doing things like that. The soil here is red soil, so it cannot be used for such nonsense stuff. So the mothers got so mad and argued with her right away, while she went crazy and rushed in to rip out all the newly planted trees. After that incident, the mothers sat down together and decided to elect someone to be the block representative to represent their voices and rights, rather than letting a situation like this continue. Over here, Ha's older sister wanted to quit her job at the apartment management board because she thought her younger sister had become a lawyer, so she herself did not want to continue working here anymore. The president heard this news and immediately called her straight to his office to threaten her, saying that if she quits her job, she will not be able to live in peace. On He Kang's side at this time, he was listening to the old lizard explain the concept of the long-term maintenance fund. Even though everyone lives in the apartment building, nobody cares about this fund. Because if you figure it out, each household only has to pay about 30,000 a month. The amount of money is not too big, so everyone ignores it because they are still busy making more money. He took advantage of exactly this point to slowly siphon money from the residents living in the apartment complex. To put it simply, this fund is exactly the money paid in advance to use for fixing the apartment building over a long time. Because if they force the residents to pay a lump sum all at once, surely everyone will get mad. Like here, every month He Kang has to pay 29,000. Multiplied by 9,800 households, the total amount of money every month has already reached hundreds of millions of won, and if elected as block representative, he will automatically have the qualification to run for president. Of course, just needing the seal of the head of the management board and the apartment president. This 17.8 billion won will be withdrawn incredibly easily. So He Kang figured out that if this deal goes smoothly, he will have over 21 billion, which is just enough to save his older brother Yi Man. Plus, he can also make the dreams of his 3 younger brothers come true. Having gotten the method to make 10 billion, He Kang immediately ran to the prison to meet Yang Man and then promised to save his brother at all costs. Because he cannot live without this older brother. On the way back, He Kang remembered his younger days again. Back then his dad had passed away, so the debt paper also became meaningless. Yang Man burned that paper with his own hands and then told him to go out and be independent. But He Kang refused because he wanted to continue tagging along with his older brother. Arriving back at the apartment complex, suddenly there was a crowd of residents gathering noisily in one spot. It turns out there was a crazy arrogant guy causing trouble. He blatantly parked his car in the wrong spot, blocking everyone's way, and even screamed and argued loudly. He Kang found it an eyesore looking at it, so he immediately drove his car and crashed straight into his car, making the front of the car smoke. Just like that, he went crazy and rushed out to demand compensation. Right at that moment, Young-go appeared. He held a brick and wrote right on his car door before stepping out. He offered to pay the entire cost of fixing that car, because just by looking, you can tell this car looks fancy, but in reality, it is just a bought used car. Of course, if he wants to report it, go right ahead. Because Young-go has up to 12 lawyers, and all of them are very good at digging into other people's privacy. Just hearing a few threats, he got scared and ran away. After that, Young-go wanted to pay for all of Hae-kang's car repair costs because he helped him save a lot of time. Seeing him throwing money around like leaves, all the residents here clapped and cheered. The next day, because that guy was humiliated in front of everyone, he was bitter and went to slash Young-go's tires. After checking the dashcam, he decided to go play a round of golf. It turns out he caught that guy and then forced him to sit still to be a target for his practice. He was terrified because he found out he was just someone renting an apartment, while the owner of this whole apartment complex was actually Young-go. This way, he will probably be scared for the rest of his life and won't dare to say another word. As for Hae-kang and his subordinates who were struggling with the application form to be the block representative, the lizard watched and got so frustrated because it was just one application form. But they had been tinkering with it for several hours and still weren't done. He kept saying that nobody cares about this stuff, just write a few random lines and turn it in, but they wouldn't listen. Right after saying that, the four brothers continued to sit and discuss what their education level was, what positions they held, what their work experience was, and all sorts of other complicated procedures. In general, it was a huge headache. If they revealed their gangster identities, the residents would definitely be wary of them. So Hae-kang decided to write that he was just a normal person, wishing to help the apartment complex grow better and better. The lizard watched the four brothers take photos while eating instant noodles and grumbling, so he found it an eyesore. Right after finishing the form, Hae-kang immediately went to the apartment management office to submit the application, and while there, he took a look to see who his opponents were, only to find out that among the candidates, nobody lived alone. Not to mention that the block representatives and people holding high positions until now all had families, realizing that this was exactly the deciding factor. Because he himself didn't have this advantage, he might very likely fail if he didn't have a real family. Hae-kang immediately withdrew the application and ran back home to discuss it with his brothers. As soon as he got there, he pulled the lizard over to ask questions, ignoring the fact that he needed to use the bathroom so badly that he could barely hold it in anymore. He panicked and said a few random things before finally being let go. Hae-kang said, "A man living with 4 other men, dark and gloomy, with an unclear identity, nobody will vote for him." As soon as the family and marriage topic was mentioned, the subordinates immediately pulled out the wedding photo, taken the other day, and kept praising how good-looking the couple was. Hae-kang looked at it, laughed to himself, and then loudly declared that Ha was the wife of this house. Starting from today, as soon as he finished speaking, the whole group quickly found her workplace and her identity. At that exact moment, she was arguing with a pervert. He insisted that he didn't harass anyone at all, and just accidentally touched someone's thigh by mistake. They argued back and forth, but got nowhere, so she gave him a few slaps, making things even noisier. He was boiling with rage and about to hit her when Hae-kang appeared out of nowhere like a god, grabbed his hand tightly, and scared him so much he ran for his life. Just as he was about to meet and talk to Haji, the manager called her in to announce her termination. It was just because of the ridiculous reason that she didn't meet her KPI, even though her job was being a free consultant. She was extremely frustrated, but couldn't do anything besides sadly packing her things and leaving. While she was having a headache over being short on money, Hae-kang appeared right in front of her. After that, the two of them went to grab coffee, and then he asked her to be his wife for 3 months. At first, she got angry because she couldn't accept being hired with money made from illegal stuff. But after hearing the figure of 30 million won for the contract, she froze. That amount of money was enough to keep her from worrying for a while, even though her logic kept reminding her that she wasn't allowed to take money from this person. In the end, she still let out a very decisive final answer. That very answer made Ha feel regretful and extremely uneasy all evening. But every time she looked at the money in her account, she comforted herself that she only needed to act for 3 months. As for the lizard, Hae-kang asked him to play the role of his father for 3 months. In exchange, he would wipe out the debt and give him a way to survive. Because after all, he was currently a wanted man. Hearing such a great deal, his eyes lit up and he closed the deal immediately without hesitation. Then he even asked the child of one of the subordinates to play the role of his child. Because back in the countryside, the child didn't get a proper education. Moving here to live would allow him to attend an English kindergarten. After sorting out the family matters, the whole gang went together to take a 10th anniversary family photo set. At first, the way they stood was a bit weird, so the photographer had to rearrange them from the start. Everyone was a bit shy, but then they didn't care anymore because everyone was ready for their roles. While taking the photo, the boy suddenly kissed Ha on the cheek, which startled her. But it was thanks to that moment that the group got a family photo that looked extremely happy. After signing the contract to pretend to be a family, Hae Kang immediately took the whole group out to eat to build some bonds. But before they could even enjoy the food, the youngest brother's stomach growled so loudly that everyone at the table turned their heads to look at the same time. Instead of being embarrassed, he boldly declared that he was doing 16/8 intermittent fasting, so his stomach automatically rings like an alarm when it's time. That answer left everyone speechless, and Hae Kang took the chance to stand up and announce that from today on, the whole group would officially become a real family. He excitedly assigned roles, someone as the dad, someone as the mother, the son, uncle, aunt, younger brother. Everyone must remember them perfectly so they don't get caught. While Ha could only hold her forehead and sigh because she felt this was more like a comedy troupe than a family, the others were extremely excited, even standing up to clap as if a grand ceremony had just finished. After the meal, the whole group got in the car to go back to the apartment building. On the way, Hae Kang suddenly announced that starting tomorrow, Ha-ji would officially move in with him. Hearing this, before Ha could even react, the car stopped in front of the apartment gate, and her face immediately turned pale. It turned out this was exactly where her older sister worked. Panicking, she asked to stop the car right away and insisted on canceling the contract, because if her sister found out she was pretending to be someone else's wife, she would definitely be in big trouble. Hae Kang said she couldn't do that, which made her feel very awkward. She hurried out of the car and called her sister to check the situation. Luckily, her sister had just taken a leave of absence and wasn't at the office, making Ha breathe a sigh of relief like she had just escaped a disaster. Without letting her change her mind, Hae Kang immediately dragged the whole family to the apartment management office to file the application to run for block representative. As soon as he walked in, Hae Kang excitedly shook hands with the management manager like they were two old best friends. When asked who the people with him were, he immediately introduced them confidently as his happy family. He pointed at Ha-ji and bragged that this was the most beautiful wife in the apartment building, then introduced his well-behaved son, and then turned to the dad who used to be a painter and his younger brother, introducing them so smoothly that if you didn't know beforehand, anyone would think this was a model big family. He was extremely surprised when Hae Kang brought the whole family to submit the candidacy application, because normally everyone just registers online, and he had never seen a family drag everyone along, like they were going to take a commemorative photo. Right at that moment, a woman with curly hair aggressively barged into the office to complain about the management fee. She kept questioning the management manager, saying that her house hadn't used the gym, the sauna, or the breakfast service for the whole month. But every month she still had to pay 2,000 won. Isn't that just ridiculous? The management manager patiently explained that this is a common maintenance fee that all residents have to pay. Right at that moment, she realized Hae Kang was the one who handled that troublemaking driver the other day, so she immediately switched to gossiping. She curiously asked him what he was doing here. Then, when she heard Hae Kang was running for block representative, her eyes lit up like she had just found some juicy gossip. She looked at the whole family from head to toe, and the more she watched, the weirder it felt. Because with her title as the eyes and ears of the apartment building, she claimed she had never seen this family appear before. The atmosphere became tense as she kept prying, but Hae Kang stayed calm and smiled, while Ha forced a smile until her face felt stiff because she was afraid that just one slip-up would blow their cover. After leaving the office, the whole group went to the park to rest, and Ha curiously asked why Hae Kang was so determined to be a block representative. Hae Kang immediately replied with full energy that being a block representative was just the beginning. His end goal was to become the apartment president. Ha-ji heard that and could only burst out laughing, asking if he really wanted to contribute or if he had another scheme. Hae Kang immediately denied it flatly, claiming he only wanted the apartment building to get better and better. But his sneaky expression made it so no one could believe him. When night came, Hae Kang received a call from the police chief, the one who was holding Dong Man. He asked for 3 more months to make the full 10 billion won, and demanded the other party keep the promise to set his older brother free. At the same time, a mysterious designated driver quietly approached the chief. No one suspected that this person was actually Hae Kang's guy planted there to spy. After investigating, he quickly reported the news that the person behind the scenes, controlling everything, didn't seem to be the chief but another mysterious power, signaling that Hae Kang's battle had only just truly begun. At the meeting room of the apartment management board, the meeting to prepare for the block representative election took place in an atmosphere that was both serious and full of irony. The apartment president started with a question. Since each block has exactly one candidate, shouldn't it be considered that they have already won? Why bother with an election and waste the effort? A few people immediately nodded in agreement, thinking that nowadays all residents are busy making a living, so no one has the energy to care about the apartment voting stuff. Someone else chimed in, saying that organizing a vote would only waste time, money, and manpower. But the president immediately changed his tone to a self-righteous one, asserting that even if there is only one candidate, they still have to follow the right procedure, because rules are rules. According to him, if you want a good society, you have to start from the smallest things, and even an apartment election must maintain the true spirit of democracy. Those high-sounding words made everyone in the room keep nodding in approval. Someone even took the chance to suck up, saying every word from the president was as deep as a life philosophy. Seeing everyone praise him, one person immediately asked if he would run for president again this time. Out loud, he humbly said he wasn't the type of person who is hungry for power, but a smirk just stayed on his face and wouldn't go down. You could tell he was as happy as a clam deep down. Right then, someone noticed the candidates from Block 4 and Block 6 were not there. The president explained that the candidate from Block 6 was just a young mother, and according to him, those young mothers are only good at gossiping, rather than contributing anything, so he didn't even bother to invite her. Everyone in the room could only give a forced smile. As for the candidate from Block 4, it was even more special. Even though he had applied long ago, for some reason he wasn't invited to the meeting. Meanwhile, at He Kang's house, they were busy getting ready for the campaign in a style like no other. The fake family started buying uniforms to dress alike. He Kang boldly planned to hand out business cards all over the apartment complex, dividing the work for each person like they were preparing to run for president. The VIP guest said he had been a manager for so many years and had never seen a sole candidate who still printed thousands of business cards. He Kang stayed cool, thinking that preparing too much doesn't hurt. Right then, Ha showed up and brought news that made the whole group freeze. It turns out that besides He Kang, there were two other candidates. The first one was exactly that curly-haired lady who went to the office to argue about the gym fee the other day. Hearing this, He Kang immediately turned to look at the management manager with a reproachful look, as if to ask, "Didn't you say no one would bother to do it?" The manager could only give a forced smile, because even he didn't expect the residents to be so enthusiastic this year. While He Kang was having a headache with his rivals, Ha had to deal with another mess. Since she was scared her sister would find out she was pretending to be someone else's wife, she decided to go big by buying a plane ticket to France for her sister. At first, her sister felt it was a waste of money and didn't want to go, but hearing from her younger sister that this was a chance to learn baking in France, she changed her mind right away. Ha put on a big smile and wished her sister a fun trip, but deep down, she just hoped her sister would stay there for a few months. She even mumbled, hoping her sister would just get married in France so she wouldn't have to come back. Right after seeing her sister off, Ha held her head because she suddenly remembered a very important question. 2 weeks from now, when her sister's leave is over, what excuse will she use to keep her from going to work? It's true that one lie leads to a dozen more lies to cover it up. On campaign day, He Kang's family continued to make the whole apartment complex burst out laughing. They even rented a truck and covered it with photos of He Kang from the front to the back. The loudspeakers were turned up to full volume, and the whole family wore uniforms while dancing, singing, and handing out flyers like they were holding a street festival. The loud music echoed throughout the residential area, making the residents not only lose interest, but also close their doors and pull their curtains shut at the same time. Anyone who just didn't know what was going thought it was a mobile insurance sales team. After a whole session of screaming until their throats were hoarse, the only result was that the whole group was exhausted, and they didn't get many more votes. Getting back home, Ha complained angrily that this was truly the biggest waste of time she had ever done. Not giving up, she started sitting down to analyze each candidate's profile like a real campaign expert. Candidate number 2 was disqualified by her right away for smoking in a non-smoking area. Candidate number 3 was also disqualified because they didn't have any outstanding contributions to the residents. When it was He Kang's turn, she asked a very simple question. If you become the block representative, what will you do for the apartment? He Kang froze for a few seconds and then honestly replied, "Let me figure it out as I go." The answer was so naive that Ha could only cover her face, sighing in frustration and then scolding him for not preparing anything yet daring to run for election. Right at that moment, an argument broke out right under the apartment lobby. A resident was angry because the package wasn't delivered to the door, but had to be picked up in person. The delivery person also got heated because the truck wasn't allowed to drive onto the grounds, and the vehicle was too tall to go down to the basement. Both sides went back and forth, and everyone thought they were right. The mothers were worried that traffic would be dangerous for small children, so they firmly banned delivery trucks from the area. The driver complained that if they modified the truck to fit in the basement, it would cost a fortune. In the middle of the chaos, He Kang accidentally saw an old lady struggling to pull a heavy rice bag and then slipping and falling down. He immediately ran over to help her up and carried the rice bag to her home for her. That exact moment gave him a great idea. He Kang looked at the scene where all the residents were struggling with receiving goods and immediately made a big announcement. "I will solve this." The very next day, he set up a goods reception counter right in front of the apartment lobby. All the residents' goods were collected there. He Kang himself and the fake family would personally bring them to each apartment. From morning to night, the whole group ran back and forth. Someone carried water crates, someone shouldered rice bags, and someone pulled carts. They were dripping with sweat. But the thank yous from the residents grew more and more every day. That image quickly helped He Kang score huge points. Meanwhile, the curly lady was also actively campaigning, but in a very typical way. Seeing the residents constantly praising He Kang for being enthusiastic about home delivery, she immediately stood in the middle of the yard and argued that whoever buys things should go get them themselves. Could they really deliver for people their whole lives? She also advised everyone not to believe He Kang's unrealistic promises and to be wise and vote for her. Too bad the more she talked, the more the residents quietly walked away, making her so mad she just stood there with her hands on her hips, watching them leave. At the same time, in another place, Director Lee was with Mayor Kim and a bunch of officials going fishing to discuss a new urban area project. They didn't catch a single fish the whole time, but the leaders still sat there eating and drinking very happily, which really ticked him off because they were just people who took money but couldn't get anything done. Director Lee suddenly grabbed a whole handful of raw fish, stuffed it straight into the mayor's mouth, and then squeezed chili sauce all over it, making everyone there freeze in shock. Everyone screamed in panic, asking if he was crazy. Director Lee immediately blew his top, scolding the officials right to their faces that their work was terrible and they let the projects slip away. But they were faster than anyone else at eating and drinking. The mayor still tried to act calm, saying that to do great things, you have to know how to sacrifice small interests for the big picture. Hearing the words big picture, Director Lee got even angrier, threw the chili sauce bottle at him, and growled, "What big picture? You guys only talk about the future while I'm living in the present." He yelled that they did a lousy job and were only good at eating and drinking. Not satisfied yet, he even pushed both the minister and the mayor into the river to sober them up and make them think. The two officials struggled in the water, constantly calling for help, while he just stood on the boat calmly eating fish like he was watching a circus show, then returning to the apartment. He Kang's delivery work ran into trouble again, when a tattooed thug kept cussing out and hitting the delivery staff just because they stood waiting for the elevator for too long. Two of He Kang's subordinates were so mad, their teeth were grinding, and they were about to rush in to handle it. But he stopped them because he was afraid it would affect the election. But the trouble didn't stop there. The next day, a bunch of residents reported that their goods were damaged, kimchi containers were broken, apples were stolen, and potatoes were crushed. The whole group immediately investigated and found out everything was linked to the house of candidate number 1. He Kang quickly understood the rival was using a smear tactic against him. The subordinates immediately suggested fighting fire with fire. Haji even came up with an even nastier move, spreading rumors that the rival faked their college degree. After hearing the plan, the whole group laughed mischievously, and then split up to create fake accounts to comment all over the resident forums. After just one night, the rumor spread throughout the apartment building, making the curly-haired lady run to the management office, crying to prove that she really did graduate from college. The management manager could only hold his head and sigh because he had never seen a block representative election as intense as a presidential election. That night, Haji accidentally witnessed the tattooed guy hitting an old security guard again. She was about to rush in to stop him, but He Kang pulled her back because he didn't want anything to affect the election. But after taking Haji home, He Kang quietly came back, walked up to block the thug, and demanded he apologize to the old man. That guy not only didn't apologize but even grabbed a shovel and rushed at him, intending to bash He Kang's head. Just waiting for that, He Kang leaned to the side to dodge the hit, and then threw a powerful kick straight into his face, making the guy fall flat on the ground. The fight looked as cool as an action movie. Ha watched from afar, her eyes sparkling, thinking her contract husband was really badass while fighting. Too bad the whole scene was recorded by 2 students and edited into a video of the block representative candidate assaulting a resident. The next day, as He Kang continued delivering packages, residents started whispering. Many people even refused to take his help. Just when the group fell into total despair, the election results were suddenly announced. The winner turned out to be He Kang. The whole group's eyes went wide, thinking they misheard. Right after that, the security chief posted the full video. It proved He Kang only stepped in to save the old security guard from the thug, who had assaulted the staff in the area many times. public opinion flipped instantly. The criticism turned into a bunch of praise in the comments. That night, He Kang sat in front of his computer, reading every compliment, grinning from ear to ear. He even replayed the scene of him throwing the kick that took down the thug over and over, nodding to himself in praise. Who knew he looked that handsome on screen? The whole room was filled with everyone's laughter, ending a rocky election journey full of both tears and smiles. 3 years ago, when director He Kang was the owner of a big company, a man came to his casino with a group of people. There, he got into a brawl with a Japanese group. They had a long-time grudge. The Japanese guy intentionally brought people to take him out today, but he wasn't scared at all. The two groups stood facing each other in the middle of the casino, eyes full of hostility, and finally rushed at each other to fight. He was quickly knocked down by the Japanese guy. Just as he was about to swing his sword for a strike, director He Kang appeared. He threw a button, making the Japanese guy's sword fly out. Immediately, he rushed into that group to keep dealing with them. He threw a punch straight at the opponent's face, making him stumble and crash hard into a table. The sounds of punching, kicking, screaming, and furniture crashing echoed throughout the casino. Soon, the Japanese group was beaten to a pulp and retreated in anger. The guest asked He Kang why he helped, and he just answered it was because he was his guest, and he couldn't just look the other way. Because of that, the two shook hands and became brothers. He even promised to help He Kang with all his might in the future. Since then, he became his VIP guest. Back to the present, the fake family is working together at the apartment. They are receiving goods and starting to deliver them to each unit. Here, He Kang also thanked Ha for helping him. He found out about her going to see the two kids who filmed his fight to give them a warning. She demanded they delete the video because what they did was against the law and could result in fines or jail time. Hearing her say that, they got scared and did as they were told. Next, she went to the security room from the other day, gave a USB to the guard and hoped he would post the truth to clear He Kang's name. At this time, Haji said she didn't have any hidden motive. She just wanted to tell the truth and also mentioned she didn't want things to fail before they even started. After saying that, the two continued working with smiles on their faces. Over at Director Lee's house, the TV reported that the new urban project was approved, making him comment that those guys finally got something done. Right then, the secretary came in to report that He Kang had become the block representative. Seeing someone else become a hero in his own living area, he was annoyed and called the apartment president, demanding that from now on, delivery trucks be allowed into the complex and to immediately shut down the package pickup service at the gate. Faced with Director Lee's demand, the president could only nod in agreement. Over here, after making a total mess in the kitchen, everyone finally had a table full of delicious food. They ate and drank happily together. At that moment, He Kang got a call from the apartment president saying that, from now on, there was no need to receive and deliver packages to doors anymore, because residents complained it ruined the look of the place, so delivery trucks would now go straight into the basement. He Kang was a bit surprised, but couldn't do anything else. He also informed everyone about this issue. Even though the plan to win over the residents with home delivery had to stop, the family still encouraged each other that at least their efforts over the past few days weren't in vain. The image of He Kang diligently carrying every package left a very good impression on many residents and helped his reputation spread throughout the apartment complex. The next day, to increase their visibility, this fake couple went for a walk around the apartment complex together. But Ha felt that wasn't effective at all. She came up with an idea using He Kang's existing fame. The two of them went to the coffee shop in the apartment complex, where the mothers always gather, and also a place that could help their reputation spread further. At the coffee shop, the mothers were congratulating the short-haired mom because she was elected as the block representative. They even said they would support her to become the apartment president, giving endless praise that made her both happy and a bit worried. Because last night, when her husband found out she was elected as block representative, he was furious, demanding she resign immediately and only wanting her to stay home instead of going out to do those useless things. At this time, He Kang also showed up there. His appearance caught the mother's attention. They quickly recognized him as the kicking hero and kept gushing over his handsome looks. He Kang also took the chance to go over and say hi, actively showing off. When Haji finished getting the water, He Kang didn't hesitate and called out loudly, "Honey!" making everyone green with envy. In front of everyone, the two of them were like a real pair of newlyweds. The mothers started asking about them, asking how long He Kang and Haji had been married, but their answers didn't match, making the atmosphere a bit awkward. Luckily, they quickly explained that Haji got it mixed up with their wedding registration date, so no one suspected anything else. After leaving the coffee shop, the two of them immediately agreed on basic info like when they met, where they fell in love, and memories to remember to avoid exposing any more slips. Then He Kang asked Haji to go pick up their fake son to show the image of a caring mother. while he went back home to prepare for the first apartment meeting. After picking up the boy, Ha played on the swings with him. In front of strangers, the boy kept praising his mom for being talented and beautiful, which made her feel a bit shy but very warm inside. Over here, He Kang showed up at the meeting in a very sharp suit. The meeting started with the secretary welcoming the new block representatives, then moved to the topic of electing a new president. He said nobody could do a better job than the current president, so he proposed that the man keep his position, then asked if anyone else wanted to run. He Kang raised his hand without any hesitation. His bold move immediately caused a stir in the room, and all eyes were on him. Even the current president was stunned for a moment, because he didn't expect someone would dare to openly challenge his position. The quiet atmosphere suddenly turned tense. Many block representatives started whispering, and the secretary clearly looked annoyed because his plan to re-elect the president suddenly hit an unexpected roadblock. In the president's office, his faction was arguing loudly about who would be president, making him feel extremely stressed. Meanwhile, He Kang and his gang started brainstorming. One person thought he should make some really attractive promises. Another said, just being handsome and famous is enough. Finally, He Kang made a very bold decision. If he ever gets involved in corruption while being the president, he will give his house away to the residents. His action left Haji totally confused, because he didn't have to go that far just to run for the apartment president position. Meanwhile, He Kang's candidacy notice caught Director Lee's eye, and from his expression, it was clear he wouldn't let this rival get away easily. The next morning, He Kang went to the trash collection area to help the residents clean up. His hard work made many residents like him more and more. Right at that moment, the curly-haired lady also brought her trash down. He Kang politely stepped up to help her carry the trash bags, but she coldly mocked him, claiming that everyone has hands and feet, so anyone could do that. You're just trying to put on a show to win over the residents before the election. Even though she was harsh, He Kang just stayed quiet and smiled, then went back to his work. In another scene, a representative from an environmental cleaning company came to see Director Lee. He hoped his company would get to renew the cleaning contract for the apartment complex. At first, the director acted indifferent, but as soon as he saw a gift bag placed on the table, his eyes changed instantly. He opened the bag and inside was a thick stack of cash. He quickly hid all the money in a drawer and said with a smile, "This is very simple. As long as the company keeps cooperating well, everything will be taken care of." While waiting for the president to sign the papers, the employee accidentally saw He Kang's candidacy profile on the table. He was stunned when he realized this person was the big boss of a gang he had heard of before. That discovery was like hitting the jackpot for Director Lee, because he finally found the weakness to take down his rival. After a tiring day at work, He Kang just got home when he received a phone call announcing an emergency meeting for the block representatives. At the same time, the loudspeaker in the apartment complex also announced that the meeting would be broadcast live for all residents to watch. Soon, all the block representatives were there, and the residents sat in front of their screens to watch. At the start of the meeting, the secretary said there was some extremely important information to announce. Right after that, Director Lee stepped up with a mocking tone, declaring that among the block representatives, there was one person who lied about their work experience. And that person was the Block 4 representative, He Kang. He didn't stop there and loudly questioned, "Were you once a gangster?" That question made the whole hall immediately buzz. Dozens of eyes turned toward He Kang, and the residents watching through the screens were also extremely shocked. His fake family's faces turned pale with fear, and the secretary immediately asked everyone to keep order and then invited He Kang to stand up and explain. However, just as he was about to speak, someone suddenly pulled the livestream connection cable. The sound and image disappeared instantly, leaving He Kang with no chance to say anything more. The meeting ended with everyone in shock while Director Lee had a triumphant smile. Back in the office, Director Lee's faction was very excited. They laughed and talked loudly. Surely after this hit, He Kang will have to automatically withdraw from the election. Meanwhile, He Kang went home and was angrily scolded by Ha. She kept questioning why he didn't argue back or deny it right in front of everyone back then. According to Haji, even if he was once a gangster, there is no law that forbids running for apartment president. Her fierce defense left the whole family stunned. The next morning, when He Kang stepped into the elevator, the atmosphere became very awkward. The residents who just saw him quietly stepped outside. Some even chose to take the stairs rather than stand with a mob boss. In just one night, the friendly looks from before turned into caution and distance. Rumors spread like wildfire throughout the complex, making the image He Kang worked so hard to build almost completely collapse. At the coffee shop, the moms in the apartment complex were still sitting and gossiping loudly about He Kang's story. Some people insisted that he was originally a gangster, so he didn't deserve to be the president. Others thought that the good things he had done until now were just an act to win over the residents. Right then, Ha walked into the shop and accidentally heard the whole story. She could only sigh and remark that public opinion is truly a scary thing. After that, she politely asked to sit down at the mother's table. At first, everyone thought she was a victim tricked by He Kang, so they kept comforting her, and even joined in calling him a scammer, a gangster disguised as a good person. Unexpectedly, Haji calmly stood up to protect He Kang. She insisted that he is a wonderful husband, hardworking, talented, always loves his family, and is handsome too. So she hoped everyone wouldn't keep bad-mouthing her husband anymore. Those firm words made the whole coffee shop go silent for a moment. But right after that, the mothers looked at Ha with pity, thinking she had been brainwashed by He Kang to the point where she couldn't tell right from wrong anymore. Someone even shook their head and said she was so pitiful. Someone else sighed, saying that birds of a feather flock together. Stepping out of the shop, Haji suddenly stopped and wondered why she recklessly stood up to defend He Kang like that. After all, they are just a fake couple, and everything was just an act, but when she heard others talk bad about him, she couldn't just ignore it. Meanwhile, He Kang still went to the scrap collection area to help everyone as usual. However, unlike the days before, the workers all quietly avoided him. Some people, as soon as they saw him coming, found an excuse to go somewhere else, and the rest just bowed their heads to work without daring to start a conversation. That cold atmosphere made He Kang extremely depressed. He had to sit down on a nearby chair, quietly watching everyone work. Right at that moment, the curly lady came closer and suddenly said something mysterious. "If you make others shed tears, sooner or later you yourself will have to cry." That confusing sentence made He Kang immediately ask her about it. He thought she was hinting at him being framed before, so he asked directly if she was the one who spread the rumor that he faked his degree, because his honors degree was completely real. Not wanting to back down, He Kang also questioned her back about how she had smeared him during deliveries. Hearing that, the curly-haired lady just gave a faint smile and said, "If you want to beat the current president, don't just look at the rumors. He has a whole faction backing him up, and has been secretly stealing a lot of money from the residents for many years." After saying that, she pulled He Kang to join a protest against the management board's project. After everything finished, the whole group went out to eat together. He Kang still didn't understand why he had to sit here with strangers, but he didn't expect that very conversation would help him discover an extremely important secret. While eating, one person in the group suddenly asked if protesting like this would actually bring any results. Another person laughed and replied, "Definitely not." "So then why do we still have to protest?" That person joked while picking up food that at least everyone has an excuse to get together and eat. The whole table burst out laughing. Right at that moment, an elderly woman spoke up and said there is only one way to make the new urban project stop, which is that an artifact must be dug up at the construction site. She told that many years ago during the construction of a train route, workers once discovered a precious artifact underground, so the entire project was forced to stop for archaeology. Hearing this, He Kang's eyes immediately lit up like he had just found gold. He hurriedly stood up, ran straight home, and immediately called 2 trusted subordinates to order them to go to Japan that very night. Arriving in Japan, the 2 were welcomed very luxuriously and then taken to a large villa. There they met the VIP guest they had known from 2 years ago, the boss Tara. The 2 subordinates quickly connected the phone so He Kang could talk to him directly. He Kang started by saying that this time he has an extremely important matter, and if he doesn't get help, he fears his life might be hard to keep. Tara laughed and replied that as long as He Kang opens his mouth, he will fulfill anything he can do. Without beating around the bush, He Kang said straight out that he wants to borrow a Korean artifact. Hearing that, Tara casually grabbed an antique vase sitting by the table and held it up to the camera. He Kang just took one look and immediately shook his head, asserting that it was just a fake. The answer made Tara laugh loudly, praising He Kang for being a brother who really knows antiques. He then stood up and went inside. A few minutes later, Tara came back with another vase, carefully wrapped in a wooden box, with both hands wearing white gloves to avoid damaging the artifact. Just looking at how he cherished the item was enough to understand how great its value was. After confirming this was the real artifact He Kang needed, Tara handed it to He Kang's 2 subordinates and saw them off. The next morning, the curly-haired lady went to the trash sorting area as usual, but she didn't see He Kang anywhere. However, just as she stepped out of the gate, she was extremely surprised to see He Kang appearing with a large number of people, no longer alone like before. This time he brought dozens of people to join the protest against the new urban project. The crowd spirit was extremely lively. Everyone brought banners and flags and constantly shouted protest slogans. The atmosphere quickly became bustling, as everyone marched together to the empty lot where the project was being prepared. After shouting slogans for a while, the whole group stopped to rest, eat, and talk. While everyone was not paying attention, He Kang quietly walked to a corner of the empty ground and paced back and forth as if he was observing something. Suddenly, he pretended to trip and cried out loudly that it seemed like his foot had just stepped on something hard. The curly-haired lady also curiously approached, using her hand to brush away the top layer of soil and suddenly touched the mouth of an antique vase. The deeper they dug, the more the vase's shape was revealed, making everyone unable to hide their amazement. The crowd immediately cheered because they believed they had just discovered an extremely precious artifact. The curly-haired lady was so excited that she kept asking everyone to call the TV station and the authorities right away. Because she knew clearly that as long as this place really had an artifact, the whole area would be archaeologically preserved. That meant the value of the surrounding apartment buildings would skyrocket. Nobody knew that all of this was part of the plan that He Kang had prepared beforehand. The night before, after the two subordinates successfully brought the artifact from Japan to South Korea, He Kang secretly went with them to the empty lot in the middle of the night. The whole group dug many holes in different locations, and then carefully buried the vase to create a fake scene, as if the artifact had been underground for a long time. This was the final card that He Kang decided to bet on to turn the whole situation around. His plan quickly took effect when just a few hours later, information about discovering the artifact appeared heavily across all newspapers and TV news. Reporters, archaeology experts, and people from all over poured into the scene. Public opinion immediately flipped. The person who was once seen as a gangster was now praised as a hero because he was the one who found the artifact, helping to make the value of the apartment building increase many times over. Thousands of people rushed to find homes to buy in this area because they believed it was about to become a development hotspot. In contrast to the residents' joy, the new urban area project that Director Lee and the director had spent so much effort preparing was forced to stop indefinitely for archaeological work. When he received the news, Director Lee was so angry that his eyes turned bloodshot and his face was full of murderous intent. He crazily threw every object in the room and even smashed the jigsaw puzzle that he had just spent a lot of effort finishing. All that effort and money invested in the project suddenly vanished into thin air, just because an antique vase appeared at the right time. Meanwhile, the apartment president also started to panic because he knew his seat was shaking violently. The henchmen kept gossiping that since finding the artifact, He Kang had become a hero in the eyes of the residents. Now everyone only mentioned his contribution, and almost forgot the fact that he used to be a gangster. Those words were like knives cutting into the president's heart. He went crazy, shouting and then kicking all of his subordinates out of the room. When he was all alone, his legs trembled with fear because he understood that failure was very close. At the same time, in He Kang's apartment, the whole fake family gathered in front of the TV screen to follow news reports that kept praising him. Everyone had a satisfied smile because the plan finally went exactly as planned. The next morning, the day for the official apartment president election took place. From very early on, thousands of residents were present to cast their votes. A tense atmosphere covered the whole area as everyone nervously waited for the results. Right at 6 p.m., the organizers started announcing the winner. In the apartment, He Kang's whole family held their breath and watched. Everyone burst into joy when He Kang's name was announced as the new apartment president. Cheers rang out everywhere, and residents kept congratulating the hero who just helped the apartment complex change his life. Haji was so moved that she burst out laughing through her tears. Even though at first she only saw this marriage as fake, now she really felt happy witnessing He Kang achieve results after all that effort. But that joy was quickly contrasted with the gloomy scene in the former president's office. When he returned, Director Lee was already sitting and waiting. No longer keeping his polite look like before, he coldly questioned why money was taken, but in the end, there was still a failure against a gangster like He Kang. His anger exploded. He grabbed the apartment president nameplate and repeatedly smashed it hard against his head, blood splattering all over the room, staining his clothes and face red. Outside, the manager just stood there frozen, hearing the painful cries for help echoing out, but he didn't dare step in to stop it. After letting all his anger out, the director calmly wiped the blood and stepped outside as if nothing had happened. By coincidence, right at the door, he ran into He Kang again. Even though there were still bloodstains on the other guy that hadn't been wiped clean yet, He Kang just took a quick look and smiled, reaching out his hand for a handshake, happily accepting the congratulations from the director. Both acted polite, but the atmosphere was extremely tense. Just from the look in his eyes and the leftover bloodstains on that man's suit, He Kang had a feeling that this was not just a normal businessman. Behind that calm look was someone extremely dangerous, even scarier than the apartment president who was just defeated. This meeting probably signals an even more fierce confrontation waiting ahead. After winning the apartment president position, He Kang and his group of friends immediately threw a huge celebration party. Everyone was super excited because the plan finally succeeded beyond expectations. In that lively atmosphere, Ha asked everyone for permission to stand up and say a few words. She shared that many people have ended up on TV for abusing the apartment president position to steal funds, colluding with contractors they knew, and then leaving projects unfinished, causing a lot of damage to the residents. So, she hoped Hae-kong would do a good job in his role and never appear on TV for reasons like those cases. After saying that, Ha-ji invited everyone to finish their drinks together. But only the fake son raised his glass in response, while the whole group sitting below was frozen for a few seconds because her words were like hitting their soft spot. Because the biggest goal that made the whole group work hard to get Hae-kong to be the president was actually to make money off the residents. Seeing no one respond, Ha kept smiling and said that Hae-kong had worked hard to set up a whole fake marriage and finally achieved his dream of becoming the president. So from now on, he should work hard. At this moment, everyone snapped out of it and raised their glasses to congratulate him with forced laughter. The party after that still went on very happily. Everyone felt that today's meal was way better after so many days of working hard and running around for the election. Only Hae-kong was still quietly remembering meeting that director Lee guy earlier. The image of the remaining bloodstains on his hands and face kept making him wonder what on earth happened to the guy. However, for Hae-kong right now, the most important thing was still to quickly earn enough 10 billion won to get Dongman out safely. The next morning, Director Lee went to the company with a very hurried face. As soon as he walked in, he immediately ran straight to his office, turned on a new song, and started singing terribly with a cold face and zero emotion. The secretary could only stand by helplessly listening to the weird sounds coming from their strange director. Right at that moment, 3 other directors also rushed in. Seeing Director Lee singing passionately, they felt even more scared inside. Suddenly, Lee turned to ask Director Du if they had conducted an archaeological survey before starting construction, then growled, "You're really driving me crazy." He turned to Director Choi again and asked how much the bank interest would be while the project was stalled. Director Choi replied tremblingly, "That will be a huge amount of money." After hearing that, Lee got even more furious and immediately ordered all 3 of them to put their heads on the table. The 3 directors were so scared they were shaking, but they could only bite their ties and slowly bow their heads to do as told. Lee held the microphone and repeatedly smashed it hard against the table, creating ear-piercing noises that terrified all 3 of them. After letting out his anger, he calmly picked up the mic to keep going with his passion for singing as if nothing had happened. Right then, Director Jang spoke up and said that if they can't prove the recently found artifact is fake, there's no way the new urban project can continue construction. Hearing this, Director Lee seemed to have immediately thought of a new plan. On the other side, Ha-ji also confessed to her best friend that she signed a contract to be Hae-kang's fake wife. After hearing that, the friend was so shocked her jaw dropped and she immediately scolded her. "Ha-ji, you're such an idiot. Accepting such a crazy thing just because you're short on money? Don't you want to keep being a lawyer anymore?" Ha calmly explained that after the contract ends, she will use the money she gets to go back to school and keep following her dream. But the friend still kept wondering why Hae-kong was willing to spend a big amount of money just to hire someone to play his wife to win the apartment president position. She even told a story about someone she knew who, after becoming the president, constantly stole from the funds, bought a new house, and even got a luxury car. Hearing her friend say that, Ha-ji immediately said loudly that Hae-kong isn't that kind of person. Her own strong reaction even startled her. That night, Ha kept remembering the image of Hae-kong taking down the tattooed guy all by himself in the security room. Those thoughts made her toss and turn so much she couldn't sleep. The next morning, Ha-ji came to Hae-kang's house as usual. She saw Hae-kong sitting there calmly sipping tea and refusing to eat breakfast with everyone. Ha-ji immediately walked over, gently took the teacup from his hand, and asked him to sit down and eat. She took the initiative to ladle the seaweed soup, set out the bowl and chopsticks, and put them in front of Hae-kong, making the whole family wide-eyed in surprise. Hae-kong could only follow along, took a spoonful of soup, and praised the flavor as being very good. The chubby brother standing in the kitchen saw that Hae-kong finally agreed to eat the dish he cooked, and he was so moved that tears came to his eyes. He immediately scooped a mountain-high bowl of rice for him, which made even Ha stunned. The next day, at the apartment management office, dozens of congratulatory flower pots were constantly sent to welcome the new president. Maybe the residents here had been waiting for this day of change for a very long time. The management staff all seemed extremely happy and were looking forward to a new beginning for the apartment complex. However, the manager himself didn't think that way. He still hadn't forgotten the terrible rage of Director Lee that he saw with his own eyes the night before when he took out his anger on the former president. He quietly warned everyone that he feared the coming time would no longer be peaceful. Meanwhile, the whole group was also busy getting ready to take Hae-kong to the office to take his position. But Ha-ji thought she didn't need to go along because she would cheer him on in a more special way. Right then, Hae-kong walked out of the room in an elegant and fancy suit, making Ha-ji instinctively freeze, her eyes unable to leave him. The 5 men in the family escorted Hae-kong to the office, while Ha stood from a high floor and suddenly shouted out loud to congratulate her husband, making everyone around look up. It turns out this was the way of cheering she had talked about. It really was because of the contract money. This young girl was willing to set aside all her embarrassment. When He Kang's family arrived at the management office, the manager was outwardly welcoming to the new president. But deep in his eyes, he was full of annoyance and caution. Maybe this very person will become the first obstacle, as well as the biggest challenge that He Kang has to overcome if he wants to get closer to the goal of earning the full 10 billion won. At this moment, the manager brought He Kang into the office to officially hand over the apartment president's duties. With a welcoming face but a heart full of schemes, he handed He Kang all the compiled documents, including management records, books, bank accounts of the board, and especially the seal, the most important power tool for a president. When he held the seal in his hand, He Kang could hardly hide his excitement. In his eyes right now, it was like the key that opened the door to that 10 billion that he always craved. The three subordinates standing behind were just as happy. The four of them looked at each other and then hugged tightly in an indescribable happiness. Seeing their overly excited reaction, the manager couldn't help but be surprised and asked He Kang if there was something wrong. He Kang immediately regained his composure, gave a forced smile, and replied that it was nothing. Hearing that, the manager didn't suspect further but only informed He Kang that today he would have to join a meeting with all the contractors of the apartment complex, hoping he would prepare to attend as the new president. After saying that, he turned and left the office. As soon as the door closed, the four of them immediately couldn't hold it back anymore and burst into a loud, delighted laugh. They quickly gathered to discuss the next plan. Since the amount of money needed was huge, He Kang decided to go to the bank the next morning to withdraw all of it. He assigned the tasks very clearly. One person prepares a really big bag to hold the money, one person goes home to pack up all the stuff. The remaining person finds a chance to take the manager's seal, but they suddenly realized that the seal was left lying around on the manager's desk, so taking it would be too easy. After withdrawing the money, the whole group would immediately disappear from this place before anyone could find out. Just thinking about that vision, the four of them laughed until they doubled over because they thought their plan was almost 99% successful. Right at that moment, the office door suddenly opened. The curly-haired lady walked in, making the whole group jump, quickly changing their expressions. It turned out she only came to congratulate He Kang on officially becoming the new president of the apartment. The curly-haired lady also brought a very large gift that made everyone curious. After opening it, they all saw that it was a giant nameplate that the residents in the apartment complex had pooled their money to make for the new president as a congratulation and a token of their hope. After giving the gift, the curly-haired lady was even more excited, constantly singing and then dancing right in the office, making all four of them freeze, not knowing whether to laugh or cry at her overenthusiasm. Meanwhile, in another place, the former president was secretly meeting with his close associates to find a way to kick He Kang out of the president's chair as soon as possible, because more than anyone, they understood that if He Kang continued to sit in that position, a series of dark secrets from the past would soon be exposed. For many years, they had used their power for personal gain, embezzling apartment funds and committing many wrongdoings. If all of it were investigated, the whole group would surely pay a high price. Back at the president's office, the curly-haired lady suddenly made a very serious offer. She wanted to become He Kang's civil secretary to support him in handling all matters related to the families in the apartment complex. In her view, many politicians lose their careers just because of troubles starting from their families. Therefore, she believed that as long as those things were managed well, He Kang would avoid countless problems. This unexpected request left everyone dazed. The funny thing was she didn't even wait for him to agree but declared on her own that from today, she would officially take the position of the president's civil secretary. Right at that moment, the manager came back to invite He Kang to attend the meeting with the contractors. Before he could even react, the curly-haired lady quickly walked ahead as if she was the one with the power to decide. He Kang stood there dazed for a few seconds before regaining his composure, telling himself that he only needed to put up with all these weird things for just today. Tomorrow, after getting the money, everything would be over. Thinking that, he quickly grabbed the jacket the lady forgot and ran after her. Finally, they were in front of the meeting room. The curly-haired lady still kept a very serious manner, walking ahead like a professional assistant, making even the manager follow timidly. When walking inside, the number of contractors was larger than imagined, making He Kang quite overwhelmed. However, he quickly regained his composure, gave a friendly smile, then bowed to everyone, introducing himself as the new president of the apartment complex and hoping everyone would help him in the coming time. A contractor representative immediately stepped forward to hand He Kang the membership list of the Merchants Association, while also saying that as long as he introduced himself as the apartment president, most services would be free as a special privilege for this position. He Kang asked in surprise why that was the case, and the other guy just smiled and replied it was a small perk for the president. However, the curly-haired lady immediately snatched the book and solemnly declared that their president would absolutely not take any form of bribery. After that, she also introduced herself as the president's civil secretary and spoke on behalf of He Kang to all the contractors, asking them to please take back all the gifts and perks because the new president would work transparently and fairly without taking any personal benefits. Hearing that, all the contractors quickly put away the gifts they had prepared and then bowed together to the new president with a very respectful attitude. While Haekong was still surprised, over at the new urban project area, Director Lee was also quietly carrying out his own plan. He brought a large gift bag full of cash to meet the antique appraisal expert, hoping this guy would declare all the artifacts found at the site were fakes. But contrary to his expectations, the expert calmly replied that these artifacts naturally couldn't have appeared in the same place like that. At first, that answer made Director Lee very happy because he thought the other guy understood what he meant. He laughed out loud and said, "I only gave a small hint and you understood everything. Just do exactly what we talked about." But the archaeologist immediately explained that he wasn't speaking according to Lee's wishes, but was basing it on scientific evidence. According to his analysis, the layers of soil on the artifacts were completely different, and the dates of each item weren't the same either. All of them being in one spot was almost impossible, unless someone intentionally brought them there and buried them to create a fake scene. That exact conclusion made Director Lee's face change color instantly. Even though he forced a smile, he still coldly said that if he found out who was behind this, that person would definitely not survive. Right at that moment, at the police office, the police chief suddenly received a phone call. The caller was none other than Director Lee. He immediately asked if the secretary had called him yet. On the stage of a kindergarten, Ha-ji's fake son burst into tears while performing, which surprised everyone. The teacher was very worried, so she called Ha-ji right away. The thing was, Ha-ji was so used to being a stand-in that when she heard the teacher ask if she was Bum's mother, she thought it was a wrong number. Only a few seconds later did Ha-ji realize that during this time, she actually was the boy's mother. Meanwhile, at the president's office, Haekong was still having a headache dealing with a mountain of work while the curly-haired lady kept pushing him and taking care of him bit by bit, even giving him supplements and making him drink them because she was worried the work was too hard. Right then, Ha-ji rushed in to report some big news, which startled everyone. The lady immediately reminded her that there were many eyes and ears around, so Ha-ji had to be careful with how she addressed him. From the familiar name Haekong, Ha-ji immediately switched to calling him Honey, and Haekong also naturally cooperated, creating a back and forth that was both funny and cute. When he found out that Bum was participating in a sports day today but neither dad nor mom was there, Haekong remembered that in the morning the boy wanted to say something to him, but then stopped. That exact moment made him feel guilty. Instead of continuing with his work, Haekong decided to go to the kindergarten with Ha-ji. At first, the curly-haired lady objected because she thought the president must put major affairs first. But Haekong quickly realized this was a great opportunity to build the image of a model father in the eyes of the residents, which would further solidify his position as the apartment president. When the hall doors opened, Haekong and Ha-ji appeared in matching outfits, catching the attention of the whole schoolyard. Bum immediately jumped off the stage and ran fast toward the two of them with a bright smile after being sad for a long time. Just that one moment was enough to make all of Haekong and Ha-ji's efforts feel worth it. The sports day that followed was very lively. Haekong showed off his agility and skill in the physical games, making a bunch of the mothers there unable to hide their admiring looks. Ha-ji was also not one to be outdone, as she kept winning in the competitions for female parents. The climax was the family race. The three of them worked perfectly together and were always in the lead. Unfortunately, as they were near the finish line, Ha-ji accidentally tripped and fell on Haekong, creating an unexpected romantic moment that even made the secretary blush. The two of them looked at each other sheepishly while Bum, caught in the middle, could only cry out, "Help me?" turning the touching scene into a funny situation. Even though they lost the first place spot, the family of three didn't give up and crossed the finish line together in second place while everyone cheered. The emotional build-up continued as Bum went to the prize area. Instead of picking an expensive gift like beef or toys, the boy quietly picked up a hair roller, which surprised both Haekong and Ha-ji. Bum's reason moved everyone even more when he said that on TV all the moms have hair rollers, but Mom Ha-ji doesn't have one yet, so he wanted to take that gift home for her. Such a naive thought, yet full of sincere love, made all the parents praise Bum as a very filial boy. Ha-ji herself didn't expect this fake son to have so much affection for her. After the sports day, Ha-ji happily brought the hair roller home and excitedly tried curling her hair, asking Haekong if she looked pretty. Haekong just gave a light smile, making the atmosphere very warm. But that joy was quickly put out when Haekong got a text from the chubby younger brother. Everything was ready, and the house was cleared out to be ready to leave after the plan was finished. At this time, Haekong also told Ha-ji that she didn't need to come to work tomorrow and that he would pay her the full amount as promised. That sudden decision left Ha-ji stunned. She tried to find a reason to stay, even wanting to go up to the room to get her purse, but Haekong stopped her, promising to send it later, and then pushed taxi money into her hand. Without a chance to say another word, Ha-ji could only stand there silently watching Haekong close the door. The feeling of being let down made her take the hair roller to a bar to talk to her best friend. Ha-ji laughed bitterly because she didn't understand why Hei Kang's attitude turned so cold after just one night. Even though her best friend reminded her that this was just a contract to fake being a family, Ha-ji still couldn't accept it because the time they spent together had made her heart truly flutter. Meanwhile, back at Hei Kang's house, the atmosphere wasn't happy at all. He quietly looked at the family photo and then observed the empty house after all the furniture had been cleared out. The two brothers returned one by one. The Glasses brothers successfully got the manager's seal, completing the final link in the plan to leave. When asked about Ha-ji, Hei Kang coldly replied that he had handled it and no one should worry about it anymore. That answer left the chubby brother stunned because he didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to his sister-in-law Ha-ji for the last time. That night, Hei Kang unexpectedly stepped into the fake dad's room. Just seeing Hei Kang using polite honorifics made the old man's face turn pale with fear. He hurriedly knelt down because he thought he had committed some serious mistake. He kept begging for his life, which only made Hei Kang laugh softly and tell him to sit down calmly. After living under the same roof for a while, Hei Kang no longer saw him as a stranger. He sincerely said he would wipe out all the gambling debts the man was carrying and would withdraw some money the next morning to give him to start a new life. Hearing that, the old man was extremely shocked and immediately refused because he thought just being allowed to live in Hei Kang's house for so long was already enough. Hei Kang still firmly advised him to live an honest life from now on, and also warned him that if he heard news of him getting involved in gambling again, he would take his wrist. After Hei Kang left, the man quietly pulled out the photo from under the mattress, the one that helped Hei Kang campaign for the apartment president position. Tears rolled down as if he finally felt what a real family was like. The next morning, the whole group gathered to get ready to leave. Bum's dad announced that he had found a safe island to take refuge, and the old man was also dropped off from the car first. Hei Kang confidently walked into the bank with a big bag in hand, bringing the seal and the savings book of the apartment maintenance fund to withdraw the entire amount of over 17 billion, one that he was sure was in the account. He even took the chance to introduce himself as the apartment president and explained that he needed the money to replace all the elevators in the building. However, after checking, the female bank teller only brought out 2 bills and a few coins for him, with a total amount of exactly 2,530. Hei Kang stood there frozen, thinking he misheard, so he kept running to other banks. The results weren't any better. One place only had over 7,000, another over 4,000, and another place only a few thousand won. After running to all the banks, the amount of money he collected wasn't even 30,000. All that hope suddenly vanished into thin air. In despair, Hei Kang threw the bag and all the money to the ground and screamed in pain. He couldn't believe the long-term maintenance fund worth 17,571,420 had evaporated without a trace, even though he had risked his life to fight for the block representative and then president positions just to get that money. Realizing that the matter wasn't simple, the whole group immediately took the old man to the rooftop to interrogate him. Hei Kang angrily questioned him about the missing money. The old man insisted that he clearly heard there were over 17 billion in the account before. According to his guess, only 3 people were capable of embezzling that huge amount of money: the former president, the management manager, and the accountant. Hearing this, Hei Kang immediately realized he had gone in the wrong direction. He planned to tie the old man up, but he kept begging, asserting that he was an expert on maintenance funds and without him, they wouldn't be able to trace the stolen money. After discussing for a while, the whole group decided to keep investigating the 3 suspects, and Hei Kang had to maintain his identity as the president to easily gather evidence. This also meant the fake family play still had to continue. Meanwhile, Ha-ji was still working hard studying law to prepare for the exam. Occasionally remembering being fired for no reason, she blamed herself for not being calm enough at the time to cite Article 23 of the Labor Standards Act to protect her rights. She told herself she had to study harder so that no one would bully her anymore. Right then, seeing the hair roller bum gave her on her head, Ha-ji was about to pull it down because she remembered Hei Kang, but then she smiled because that gift was the boy's sincere affection. Suddenly, Ha-ji received a text from Hei Kang saying he had brought the purse and was standing in front of her house gate. She hurried down, not forgetting to mock him by asking if the president had now turned into a delivery driver. Hei Kang bowed politely, which made Ha-ji feel even more weird. After a few jokes, Ha-ji immediately used the legal knowledge she just learned to question him about firing her without a good reason. This time Hei Kang didn't dodge but frankly admitted he had been thoughtless. He sincerely apologized for hurting her and then suggested inviting Ha-ji back to work for 2 more weeks as per the original contract. At first, Ha-ji was still angry, asserting that she needed a sincere apology, not money. When Hei Kang bowed to apologize again with all seriousness, Ha-ji finally softened. She agreed to come back to work for 2 more weeks. Over here, Director Lee's secretary collected all the security camera footage at the new urban area and discovered a car appearing unusually in many spots. After verifying the car owner, he determined it was Hei Kang and immediately guessed that Hei Kang had buried the artifact to make house prices rise, thereby winning the apartment president position. Meanwhile, Hei Kang calmly went to the management office to work as usual, and cleverly questioned the manager about the process of using the maintenance fund. Through the conversation, he learned that to release funds, there must be enough seals from the president, the manager, and the chief accountant Ha-dong, who was on leave and about to return. Over on this side, the fake dad was scolded by the whole group again for secretly taking Bum's piggy bank to go gambling. And Bum's dad was angry and threatened to give him a beating. Right then, the curly-haired lady accidentally overheard the conversation. But she misunderstood that the family was just teaching the gambling-addicted father a lesson, so she didn't suspect anything more. The next day, at school, Bum was given candy and a confession by a girl, but the boy innocently refused because he only liked his mother Ha-ji. Ha-ji went to pick up Bum, awkwardly telling him to just call her sister, when no one was around because she still wasn't used to the role of a mother. She didn't realize the curly lady overheard those words. After that, Ha-ji even accidentally ran into her older sister right in front of the apartment. Right at that moment, Bum called her mom, which left her sister completely shocked, and Ha-ji was flustered, not knowing how to explain it. Meanwhile, the apartment elevator kept breaking down, and Director Lee had completely determined that Hae Kong was the one behind everything. The climax came when Ha-ji suddenly told Hae Kong that she couldn't continue working starting tomorrow. Hae Kong tried to get her to stay, but Ha-ji felt the fake family contract no longer had any meaning since he had already become the president. Right as the two mentioned the fake family, the curly lady standing outside the door overheard the whole truth, crying out in shock that it turns out everything was just a fake family, making both Hae Kong and Ha-ji go completely silent at the same time. As the secret of Hae Kong and Ha-ji's fake family was on the verge of being fully exposed, everything started when the curly lady suddenly opened the door and walked in just as Hae Kong and Ha-ji were talking about the fake family contract. Just the single sentence, "Our family is only fake," was enough to make her stand frozen. Then she kept repeating it in amazement. "So you guys are a fake family?" Then she burst out laughing as if she couldn't believe what she just heard. All the questions she had for so long were immediately answered in her head. From the story about the son daring to cut off his dad's hand for being a gambling addict to the fact that Ha-ji always made Bum call her sister in deserted places, everything now made sense. She even mocked that she used to think this family was too weird and uncultured, but it turns out it was all just an act. Although Hae Kong and Ha-ji kept explaining that she had misheard, and even coordinated their acting right on the spot. Ha-ji sweetly called him honey. Hae Kong also played along, but the curly lady was not convinced at all. She asserted that she heard the truth clearly with her own ears, repeatedly questioning Hae Kong on why he had to set up a fake family to run for president and what his ultimate scheme was. Finally, she declared she would immediately post the whole story on the apartment forum so the residents would know his true face and demanded that Hae Kong resign immediately. Right when she was about to leave, she ran into the exact situation where the elevator was under maintenance, so she angrily cussed up a storm because she felt like something was happening in this apartment building every single day. As soon as she left, Hae Kong and Ha-ji panicked and ran straight home to tell the news to the whole group. Knowing the curly lady was about to go public with everything online, everyone immediately split up to take action to stop her at all costs. First, the Glasses brother used a signal jammer, making the Wi-Fi in the lady's house completely lose connection. Unable to post, she rushed out to the elevator to find a place with a signal, but she was blocked right at the elevator door by Bum's dad. Even though his face was in pain from straining to hold the door, he was still determined not to let her go out of frustration. She switched to the stairs, but the chubby brother was already blocking the emergency exit, so she couldn't get out at all. Being blocked by the whole group over and over, she was mad enough to lose it, constantly complaining that this was the weirdest apartment building she had ever lived in. In another scene, Ha-ji took the chance to meet her sister to explain the misunderstandings from the other day. She made an excuse that she just took a babysitting job for a client of the law firm, which was why the boy called her mom. Even though she was still a bit skeptical, the sister finally accepted the explanation for now. Seeing her younger sister having to study law while working all sorts of jobs to make a living, the sister felt really bad for her. As for Ha-ji, she just gave a forced smile and said she had already turned down the job. The next morning, Hae Kong and Ha-ji decided to pull out their final move to win back the curly lady's trust. They both intentionally wore matching outfits to go jogging together on the apartment grounds and kept showing romantic gestures in front of her. Ha-ji acted clingy. Hae Kong gently held her hand and promised to always protect her. The two played the role of husband and wife very naturally, but the curly lady just stood there and smirked, asserting that they were acting too obviously because no real married couple would intentionally be romantic in such an awkward way. Knowing he couldn't fool her with simple acts, Hae Kong decided to invite her to the public land of the new urban area, where they once joined the protests together. Hae Kong sincerely asked her to give him one more week to prove everything and win back her trust. The curly lady asked what he planned to do in that week, and Hae Kong just gently reminded her of the time they stood side by side for a common goal, shouting slogans together, working hard to bring benefits to the residents. He asserted that those memories were still intact in his heart until now. Those sincere words made the curly lady sway a bit. She admitted that she also really cherished that time because thanks to their joint efforts, the value of the apartment building had increased significantly. But she still didn't believe him. So Hae Kong continued to make up a touching story to strengthen her faith. He claimed that he truly loved Ha Ji. They married for love and then had a child, while the three brothers were half-siblings from the same father but different mothers, because their father lived too wildly in his youth and was also a gambling addict. The story was so logical that the curly lady also gradually softened. But her intuition told her that there was still something very suspicious. Right then, Hae Kong switched to the issue of apartment management fees and revealed that he was secretly investigating unusual spending. Hearing this, the lady immediately changed her attitude, agreeing to keep the secret and giving him exactly 1 week to clear everything up. Returning home, Hae Kong announced to the whole group that they only had 7 days to find the over 17 billion won maintenance fund that had disappeared. The fake dad analyzed that even if the president, the manager, and the chief accountant worked together, they couldn't make the account completely empty like that because the apartment building always has to pay fixed costs. In his experience, there are 3 common ways to steal funds: faking the books to withdraw money slowly, inflating construction costs to split the money with contractors, or direct embezzlement. But no matter what method was used, the balance wouldn't hit zero without a big power behind the scenes manipulating things. From that, Hae Kong realized if he wanted to find the culprit, he had to find the projects currently using the maintenance fund. The very next morning, the whole group split up to go all over the apartment complex to check every tile, the tunnel, the plumbing system, and every worn-out part. They found many spots that could be used as a reason for repairs, even intentionally creating a few small broken spots to legalize the request for fund release. The image of Hae Kong and everyone working so hard made the residents praise the new president for being very dedicated. Only the curly lady was still a bit skeptical. After that, Hae Kong asked the manager to call an emergency meeting with the block representatives to ask for their opinions on using the maintenance fund to fix the basement floor, water pipes, and many other items. However, as soon as they heard the proposal, a bunch of residents and block representatives immediately opposed it because they thought the structures were still working well and weren't worth spending the maintenance fund on. Even though Hae Kong kept explaining these were items that needed maintenance, every proposal was rejected with an overwhelming number of no votes. At home, Ha Ji and Bum watched the meeting through the screen and were also very confused as to why all of Hae Kang's plans failed. Meanwhile, Director Lee quietly followed the whole situation and quickly realized that Hae Kong had found out the maintenance fund account was empty after going to the bank to withdraw money. He laughed out loud with satisfaction because he finally understood the real reason Hae Kong recklessly ran for president was to take the more than 17 billion. After the failed meeting, Hae Kong wondered why the block representatives always opposed every development proposal for the apartment and asked if the president could fire them. The manager explained they were all elected by residents, so they were very hard to replace, unless there was evidence of corruption or blocking the development of the residential area. Chief Accountant Ha Dong had officially returned to work at this time and met Hae Kong for the first time. Hae Kong politely greeted her, introduced himself, and then cleverly said that they would be working together a lot in the coming time. After Hae Kong left, the chief accountant suddenly remembered that when he registered to run for block representative, he claimed to live alone. While now everyone says he has a large family, which made her start to suspect, but she still thought maybe she just remembered wrong. Meanwhile, the former president and his henchmen still gathered to plan to overthrow Hae Kong, believing he wouldn't be able to keep the president's chair for long. On Hae Kang's side, the whole group continued to meet to discuss how to trace the more than 17 billion maintenance fund. The fake dad analyzed that as long as the former president's faction still held the block representative positions, the fund release would never be successful. Hearing that, Hae Kong immediately gave everyone the task of secretly investigating all the block representatives but absolutely not to alert them. The next day, the whole group split up to collect bills, flyers, and documents related to each household. While Ha Ji was going to the houses, she accidentally found a bunch of heating bills for many apartments showing a balance of 0. At first, Ha Ji thought she misread them, but the Glass's brother confirmed that there were exactly 123 households that hadn't paid a single cent for heating for years, even though they still used hot water and all the apartment services. Investigating deeper, the group discovered that these households were all part of the former president's faction, including the block representatives and the board he had set up 6 years ago. To maintain his power, the former president had secretly waived all heating fees for his henchmen. Meanwhile, that money was split evenly among the other 9,600 households without anyone knowing. 6 years passed, and all the residents unknowingly had to cover the costs for these 123 privileged households. Ha Ji wondered why such a big thing was never discovered, and Hae Kong immediately realized this was the chance to take down the former president's entire power base. If they went public with the truth, all the block representatives involved would lose all their credibility and would no longer be able to block the maintenance fund investigation. After agreeing on the plan, the whole group was very excited. Ha Ji even jokingly called Hae Kong the Heating Knight, because he was about to stand up for the residents' rights. The very next morning, Hae Kong used the loudspeakers and drove all over the residential area, calling for everyone's attention, and then publicly exposing the fact that 123 households had been getting free heating for 6 years. He declared he would uncover all the corruption, bring back fairness for the residents, and demand that everyone involved be held accountable. The speech immediately caused a wave of anger across the entire apartment complex. The resident forum was quickly filled with critical comments, demanding a full investigation and strict punishment for those who had enjoyed illegal privileges. Even the curly lady sat down to do the math and found that if each household was waived about 10 million over 6 years, the total loss was more than 1.23 billion, a number that shocked everyone. At the management office, the phones rang non-stop because residents were calling to question them, and the manager could only tell the staff to deny everything since he didn't know how to explain it himself. Contrary to that chaos, the former president and his henchmen began to panic when they realized Hey Kong had hit their biggest weakness. Although they tried to come up with a way to deal with it and planned to blame it on broken heat meters to deny responsibility, they also understood that the residents' anger was out of control. Meanwhile, Hey Kong was step by step taking down the entire power network that the former president had spent years building. After the case of the 123 households getting free heating for 6 years was exposed, the former president and his faction were completely on the defensive. Some bloc representatives began to worry and even thought about confessing because they knew the truth couldn't be hidden anymore. Meanwhile, Director Lee also quickly got the news and realized the former president had abused his power way too much by favoring acquaintances with free heating. However, instead of staying out of it, he immediately thought of a new plan to distract public attention. He ordered Secretary Kim to spread the news that the artifacts found at the new urban area were actually fakes. Not holding back on money, he spent big on the media, social media, and YouTube channels to spread fake news, and he even took billions more from the maintenance fund of another apartment building to keep his cash flowing. He even admitted that taking money from the maintenance fund reminded him of when he was a kid and secretly took money from his dad's piggy bank without anyone finding out, showing he is way too used to stealing the residents' property. Back to Hey Kong, the whole group didn't care anymore about how the former president's side would make excuses. They just focused on finding a legal way to release the maintenance fund. According to the apartment management rules, replacing the heat meter system is something the maintenance fund is allowed to be used for. So, they decided to make this a breakthrough to both fix the mistakes and completely get rid of the former president's power. In the next resident meeting, the atmosphere quickly became tense. A female bloc representative stood up and announced her resignation, hoping to close everything, but the curly lady immediately objected, saying that just resigning wasn't enough and they needed to call the police and ask the authorities to audit the entire case from the past 6 years. Many other bloc representatives tried to blame broken heat meters or made an excuse that it was an automatic payment, so they had no idea the bills were at zero. But these explanations only made the residents more furious. Everyone kept questioning why only the bloc representatives got free heating, while more than 9,600 other households had to secretly carry that entire cost for many years. The manager was also called up to explain, but he could only bow his head and apologize because he couldn't give any logical explanation. Right at the most chaotic moment, Hey Kong stood up to calm the residents and asserted that the most important thing right now was to fix the consequences. He proposed replacing the entire heat meter system using the maintenance fund according to the apartment management rules. While many people were still wondering, Director Lee suddenly stood up to speak. He admitted that his own apartment was also in the group that didn't have to pay heating fees and confessed that he hadn't noticed the bills the whole time. After that, he declared that he would voluntarily pay back the full amount that was missing. This statement made many bloc representatives object because they claimed they didn't benefit on purpose, but the residents immediately talked back saying that whether it was accidental or on purpose, the money was still paid by all the other residents, so it absolutely had to be paid back. The curly lady also praised Director Lee's action because at least he knew how to take responsibility. Seeing that the situation couldn't be saved, the former president finally reluctantly agreed to the plan of paying back the full missing amount. Seizing the opportunity, Hey Kong declared that he would carry out a full review of all households that were illegally exempt, recover the full heating fees from the past 6 years, and return that money to the more than 9,600 households that had to pay instead, ensuring fairness for all residents. This decision got a warm response from everyone. Clapping echoed throughout the meeting room, while the former president's side officially lost their biggest support. After the tense resident meeting, Director Lee took the initiative to chase after Hey Kong to start a conversation. On the outside, he didn't hold back his praise for how Hey Kong handled the case of the 123 households getting illegal free heating, saying that recovering the illegal profits and returning them to all the residents was an extremely impressive decision. Hey Kong also politely replied and thanked him for his support. Not long after, the curly lady also met Hey Kong and gave him a compliment for the first time, admitting he handled the situation very well. However, she still reminded Hey Kong not to get overconfident because she would keep watching his every move. Even so, her attitude changed significantly as her trust in the new president grew more and more. In contrast to that positive atmosphere, in the elevator, Director Lee coldly told Secretary Kim that with great power comes great responsibility, and it was time for the former president to pay for his mistakes. According to him, this person was given the power to manage nearly 10,000 households but let everything get out of control, even accidentally creating a chance for Hey Kong to become the heating knight, supported wholeheartedly by the residents. He immediately ordered the secretary to call the former president to come see him. Meanwhile, at the apartment's coffee shop, the housewives were excitedly gossiping about how all the residents got a refund for the heating fees that were incorrectly charged for many years. Everyone was happy because the money would be deducted directly from next month's management fee. Many people admitted that from now on they would pay closer attention to checking their bills, while also giving endless praise to Hae Kong for being handsome, enthusiastic, and working transparently, always showing up at every meeting to solve problems for the residents. They felt lucky that the apartment building finally had a president who actually thought about everyone's rights. At the same time, Hae Kong was still busy dealing with a pile of documents at the office when the curly lady stopped by. After witnessing how he handled the case, she admitted that the week Hae Kong asked for earlier was totally worth it and believed he was heading in the right direction. The conversation took place in a more open atmosphere than before, showing that Hae Kong had gradually earned the trust of the person who once doubted him the most. However, in another place, director Lee's true colors finally showed. In a fit of rage, he used his own golf club to hit the former president repeatedly until he collapsed on the floor, with blood splattered all over the room. Right at that moment, the manager called to ask for the right time to get the money. Lee still calmly told him to come in 2 hours, as if nothing had happened. The scary part is that he didn't care at all about the former president's life. He only felt sorry for the imported hardwood floor worth hundreds of millions of won that was stained with blood and might be ruined. After pretending to call the former president to wake him up for a bit, he coldly said, "This is the price you pay for failing to do the job." Right after that, Lee and Secretary Kim wrapped up the former president's body and secretly took it to Taegan Farm. There, both of them dug a deep hole, buried the body, and planted a tree right on top to hide all the traces. While filling the hole with dirt, Lee mocked that the former president was useless except for being fertilizer for the trees on this mountain. He casually poured some rice wine at the base of the tree and bowed as if he were doing a farewell ceremony. But it was really just a fake act by a cold-blooded guy. Meanwhile, Director Lee still calmly met up with the manager at TG World, the place where he had just secretly buried the former president's body under a tree. At this time, Secretary Kim handed out 2 big bags of money, which made the man both happy and worried. The manager apologized to Director Lee for letting Hae Kong find out what they were doing, but Director Lee just laughed with excitement, saying that thanks to Hae Kong, the game had become more interesting. He even led the manager to the tree that was just planted and coldly declared that this tree would grow from the former president's very flesh, making the man freeze in terror. Before leaving, the manager was so terrified that he dropped a whole stack of money. He had no idea that the whole scene was secretly photographed by Bum's dad to be used as evidence. From these photos, Hae Kong quickly traced that TG World was just an ornamental plant farm owned by TSM, a subsidiary of Tezen Construction. Realizing this was an important link, Hae Kong and everyone immediately went to the Tezen headquarters. Thanks to his title as the resident representative and apartment president, he was taken to the top floor to meet the head of the company directly. In contrast to the tension on Hae Kang's side, at home, Ha Ji was playing cards with the fake dad when she got a phone call that Bum had a fever. She quickly went to school to pick up the boy. On the way taking him home, Ha Ji taught Bum that everyone has to carry their own burden. No one can live for or suffer for anyone else. Even though she firmly refused to help carry his bag at first, she finally softened when she saw Bum was tired. That simple moment showed even more that Ha Ji is becoming the boy's emotional support. In the meantime, Hae Kong walked into Director Lee's office and was surprised when the other guy welcomed him like an honorary guest. Lee kept praising Hae Kang's investigation skills, from finding the unusual heating fees to finding the artifacts buried under the apartment complex. But right after that, he immediately launched a psychological attack by giving Hae Kong a photo that recorded the scene of him withdrawing money from the long-term maintenance fund at the bank. With just this gift, Lee proved that he knew every single move of Hae Kong. No longer hiding his identity, Lee introduced himself as the head of Tezen Construction. When Lee asked what Hae Kong came here to look for, he calmly replied that he had already found the answer. Right after that, Hae Kong suddenly offered to become Lee's henchman, making the director stunned for a moment because he couldn't guess his real intention. Is this just an act for Hae Kong to get deeper into the enemy's organization? Or is he preparing a more dangerous plan? The episode closed right at the moment the battle of wits between Hae Kong and Director Lee entered its most tense stage, promising more unexpected confrontations in the next episode. Director Lee didn't hide his arrogance when asserting that he was the one holding all the power, and Hae Kong was nothing more than a guy who just kicked out the former president to enter the game. But instead of acting weak, Hae Kong surprised the other guy by proactively asking to take over his predecessor's job. This seemingly humble proposal was actually the first move in his plan to infiltrate the power center of the entire apartment complex. Lee immediately saw through part of who Hae Kong was. He brought up how Hae Kong had set up a perfect act to take the president's position. From the acting and calculating to the execution, there was nothing to complain about. Because of that, Lee was both cautious and excited about the man standing in front of him. He revealed that the former president was actually just a safekeeper, managing the apartment's maintenance fund for him, constantly collecting and spending money while keeping that huge fortune safe. It sounds like a simple job, but Lee quickly explained that this was actually the hardest position. Inside the apartment building, there are always countless residents and powers trying to squeeze money out of the maintenance fund. Some demand elevator repairs, others want to renovate the parking lot, and some use all kinds of excuses to withdraw cash. To keep that safe, you don't just need to be careful. You also have to be ruthless enough to reject them all. Hae Kong replied, "Then just try giving it to me and then judge." Director Lee said, "Then go ahead and try. You have to satisfy me before I consider whether to give you the safe key or not. I don't cooperate randomly." Seeing that, Hae Kong just smiled, nodded, and left the corporation with his 3 brothers. Standing at the foot of the massive building, the whole group looked up at the top floor where Director Lee was standing. They realized the person manipulating the whole apartment complex was the boss of a giant corporation. Hae Kong calmly declared that they should just wait and see, because he would be the one to walk away from here with that safe key. A short sentence, but enough to show that the battle for control of the maintenance fund had only just begun. Meanwhile, the atmosphere at Hae Kang's house was the total opposite. The fake dad had prepared a simple dinner with a plate of fried eggs and chili sauce. Bum was eating happily because for the little boy, just being able to sit and eat with everyone was a great happiness. On the other hand, Ha-ji was sitting silently on the sofa, totally not in the mood to pick up her chopsticks. The things that just happened kept playing over and over in her head. After being caught by her sister pretending to be Hae Kang's wife, Ha-ji was forced to confess an even more shocking truth that she wasn't actually a lawyer like her sister thought. The sister, who had sacrificed so much to raise and educate her, completely broke down. She couldn't believe all her years of effort were met with such a painful confession. The sister kept questioning why Ha-ji could lie to her for such a long time, and why she accepted playing the role of a stranger's wife instead of pursuing the lawyer path that the sister had traded her whole youth to help her achieve. Ha-ji could only apologize through tears, but those apologies couldn't ease her sister's disappointment. She even accidentally blurted out that she never asked her sister to sacrifice that much, which broke her sister's heart even more. Back to the present, Ha-ji was still drowning in a feeling of guilt. The fake father-in-law saw her sitting motionless and grumbled that he had worked hard to prepare the meal, so she should at least pretend to eat a bite. When he told her to eat the fried eggs, Bum quickly finished the whole plate and innocently explained that kids in their growing years need to get plenty of protein, making the fake grandfather just nod his head. After dinner, Ha-ji quietly left the house, went to the park, and called her best friend while feeling totally confused. Right after she hung up, her tears kept falling because of the guilt she felt toward her sister, who had sacrificed her entire youth to raise and educate her. She had always taken that sacrifice for granted, and it wasn't until she lost it that she realized it was a debt of gratitude that could never be fully repaid. Right when Ha-ji was at her lowest, Hae Kong quietly appeared. He didn't comfort her with fancy words but shared his own story. Hae Kong was also once taken in, sheltered, and protected by someone. That person never asked him to pay them back, but gratitude itself became the motivation that made him determined to live better every day. He said that some debts aren't meant to be paid with money, but with one's whole life. However, those very debts give people a reason to keep moving forward. Ha-ji choked up and admitted she was starting to not know if the dream of becoming a lawyer was hers or just her sister's expectation. To her, every failure also meant letting her sister down one more time. Hae Kong calmly replied that people cannot grow if they have never failed. Only when you stumble do you see clearly what is truly important and know who is always standing behind you. When Ha-ji asked what he saw after all those failures, he just smiled and said, "I realized who has always protected me and the people I must stand up to protect." Therefore, he advised Ha-ji to experience failure herself to find the answer instead of living in other people's expectations forever. That short but deep conversation made Ha-ji smile for the first time after a series of gloomy days. However, the warm atmosphere was quickly cut short when she received a call from her best friend and suddenly remembered she had missed an appointment. The next day, Hae Kong went to the detention center to visit Dong Man, but he received news that he was in the medical room because his health took a turn for the worse and visits weren't allowed. Worried about his benefactor, Hae Kong immediately set up a meeting with Manager Sun under the bridge to negotiate. The meeting quickly turned into a tense confrontation when Manager Sun got angry and grabbed Hae Kang's collar for daring to proactively seek him out. Hae Kong had only one request: let Dong Man be released on bail for medical treatment, and he would earn enough money to hand it over later. But the manager coldly refused and even casually said, "Everyone gets sick when they get old," which made Hae Kong unable to suppress his anger. He warned that if Dong Man had any trouble, the other party would never receive the desired 10 billion. Even though he was very angry, Hae Kong still had to be patient because Dong Man was the most important person to him. What Hae Kong didn't know was that this entire secret meeting was being quietly watched by Lee's people. A new link in the power plot began to form. Returning home, Hae Kong and his brothers analyzed the situation and agreed that to take the maintenance fund, they first had to become the safekeeper for Lee. To get the key, they will have to force Lee to hand it over on his own. The first step is finding where the old president is hiding. Meanwhile, every member of the group split up to investigate. One guy went digging through the trash in front of the old president's house hoping to find something, and another checked the financial records but found the old president almost never used bank cards or phones. This proves this guy is super careful. Another person went to meet the old allies but only heard the president went abroad for a trip, while those who used to be loyal to him now want to flip to He Kang's side because they know the game has changed. Along with the investigation, He Kang met the curly-haired lady to dig up info on the president. The stories he heard surprised even him. It turns out the old president used the management fees to buy drinking water just for his family, making the security guards carry every bottle up to his place like servants. He didn't stop there. He also forced the cleaning ladies to grow veggies on the rooftop and then took all the fresh produce to his house. All while the workers didn't dare say a word because they were scared of losing their jobs. What made residents the angriest was that whenever they suggested fixing up the rundown parts of the apartment, he would find any excuse to delay it, then invite everyone out to eat to smooth things over and stall for time. The block reps who dared to speak up were pressured so much they had to sell their homes and move away, replaced by people who were totally loyal to his side as he dug deeper into the old president's past. He Kang realized more and more that the guy wasn't just greedy, but he was Lee's perfect right-hand man for locking down the maintenance fund and shutting down any talk of lawsuits from the residents. On the way back to the apartment, Ha-ji accidentally ran into her sister, but only got the cold shoulder and an avoiding look, which made her feel even more guilty. Just then, she stepped into the elevator and happened to run into He Kang. He asked her where she had been. Ha-ji replied that she just went to the supermarket to buy deboned mackerel. While they were talking, the elevator suddenly started shaking, making He Kang clearly show his fear. In contrast to his awkwardness, Ha-ji stayed totally cool, proactively called management to report the incident, and straight up told He Kang he should do something for the building because residents would be willing to pay the maintenance fee in exchange for some convenience. She compared it to spending money on deboned fish to save time and avoid a headache. With just that one normal-sounding sentence, it accidentally opened a new door for He Kang, and the next day he held the fourth meeting for resident representatives. After hearing the residents' ideas, he suggested doubling the maintenance fee to meet everyone's needs. But as soon as those words came out, he caused the residents to break out into a huge argument. Even Ha-ji and He Kang's three younger brothers were shocked, even wondering if he had eaten something wrong. But contrary to everyone's pushback, He Kang calmly explained that the apartment is almost 15 years old, and repair costs will only get higher in the future while the maintenance fund hasn't gone up in years. If you factor in inflation, the actual money is losing its value every day. That means the residents are accidentally draining the fund for the future. He Kang's solid argument made many people start to sway, but there were still plenty of people saying that doubling it was just too much to handle. Faced with the heated debate, He Kang decided to hold a vote for all residents over the weekend, which made people somewhat happy. However, behind that meeting, there was another scheme. Three guys who were allies of the old president pretended to support He Kang to his face to win him over, but behind his back, they planned to vote no. While the rest of the group believed He Kang's plan was a total goner, he stayed super confident, like everything was going exactly according to his plan. Right then, the apartment elevator suddenly glitched while a resident was inside. It seemed like a small accident, but it could very well be the key piece of the puzzle to help He Kang prove that the maintenance fees aren't pointless at all. After just one night, He Kang's plan worked in a way no one saw coming when the entire elevator system in the building failed all at once, turning the lives of thousands of residents into a total mess. One person couldn't get to the rooftop because the elevator was busted. Another had to hike up dozens of floors. Mothers were leading their kids while huffing and puffing because they were scared of being late for school, and the elderly were exhausted because they couldn't move around. The management office phone rang non-stop with people complaining and giving endless criticism. Not stopping with the phone calls, they even dragged themselves down to the management office to demand the problem be fixed, making the management office chaotic. In the middle of all that chaos, He Kang showed up and calmly settled everyone down. But he was also facing massive pressure from the residents, who were absolutely furious. Nari quickly stepped in to talk them round and asked to hold a resident meeting right away. At the meeting, He Kang explained that spare parts were hard to get because of a strike, and it might take a whole year to get them back in stock. The only thing they could do now was to replace the entire elevator system. He also mentioned that the maintenance fund only has about 17 billion left, while the cost to replace everything would hit 20 billion. At this point, the curly lady added that the elevator issues had been going on for years, so the main problem was actually the contractors. Some residents suggested suing the developer, but He Kang shut that down immediately with a strong argument. The warranty had already expired. If they sued now, the odds of losing were very high, and the residents might even have to carry all the legal fees themselves. When everyone hit a dead end, He Kang slowly drove home the message he had prepared. He said the maintenance fund isn't a burden, it's an investment in the safety and comfort of the residents themselves. His final question silenced the whole room. Do you guys want to spend an amount equal to just one bucket of fried chicken to get your convenience back? Or keep living in fear that the elevator might break down at any moment? In that moment, It was clear He Kong wasn't just fixing a problem. He was changing the mindset of the whole complex and leading his rivals right into the trap he had set. After days of chaos from the elevator glitches, the residents' mood totally flipped. Those who used to fight the fund increase now changed their minds after having to hike up dozens of floors, wait for food in the heat, or watch the elderly collapse from exhaustion. The vote results made the whole complex explode with joy when 52.7% of the residents agreed to double the maintenance fund. With the proposal officially passed, the whole crew hugged to celebrate, while Haji just gave a forced smile. But the person who was the happiest was Director Lee. As soon as he heard the fund would go up starting this month, he smirked with satisfaction because He Kong really delivered. Trading the old president for He Kong was like trading a junk car for a luxury supercar. Turns out that days ago, He Kong proactively went to meet him in the middle of the night. In that private meeting, He Kong straight up asked Lee to contact the contractors to make all the elevators glitch at the same time. Lee agreed instantly and sent his people to get the job done that night. Back in the present, Secretary Kim reported to Lee about the secret meeting between He Kong and Manager Sun from the National Police Agency. After checking it out, he found out that Dong Man was the person who once took He Kong in, and he's currently locked up with Manager Sun being the one who put him there. Because of that, Lee figured out why He Kong needed cash so fast. The more he knew, the more Lee felt He Kong was more dangerous than he thought. Lee didn't stop there. He made a new move by showing up at the office and casually confessing to Ha Dong that he was the one who embezzled the maintenance fund. The scary part wasn't the confession, but his calm attitude, like it was just a totally normal thing. He even openly praised Ha Dong's bookkeeping skills, saying the books were doctored so perfectly that no one could spot the fraud. Then, Lee tried to buy her off by offering her a job at his group with double the salary, testing the loyalty of the person holding the biggest secrets. While the power struggle got intense, Haji couldn't even feel happy about what she was doing. She kept typing and deleting messages, but finally, she got a meeting with her sister. No more harsh words like before. Her sister just quietly said she would switch to a higher-paying job to keep supporting her for the bar exam. That unconditional sacrifice made Haji lose her cool and snap at her sister. She burst into tears and said, "Just live your own life. Quit trading your youth for mine." Haji admitted she failed, but that failure helped her see what mattered most. Her sister had quietly given up her prime years to nurture her dream. She thanked her sister for everything, apologized for the lies, and promised to start over on her own 2 feet. After the talk with her sister, Haji went back feeling crushed, walking past He Kong without saying a word. Seeing her crying, He Kong quietly followed her. When he asked what was wrong, Haji just forced a smile and made up a story about debt collectors to hide how she really felt. She bowed and turned to leave, but after just a few steps she stopped, ran back to He Kong, and shyly asked to crash at his place for a night. The next morning, the whole house went crazy when the youngest brother accidentally saw Haji walking out of He Kang's room. Just that one moment was enough for the whole family to imagine all kinds of ridiculous scenarios. From the fake dad to the brothers, everyone was yelling and teasing, even as the 2 main characters tried their best to explain that it wasn't what it looked like. In another scene, Lee kept showing his face as a master manipulator. He brought a lot of good food to the farm to celebrate the restart of the OM Man Urban Area project. With just a few words, Lee made everyone there feel like he held their future, while asserting that money is what keeps loyalty alive. Right at this time, the bureau chief also came here to meet Lee. He brought expensive ginseng to win over Lee. Through a little chat, Lee found out the person helping the chief earn the full 10 billion won was actually He Kong. Immediately, he realized the true value of this man and understood that he couldn't let He Kong fall into anyone else's hands. Without hesitating, Lee invited He Kong to the office right away. Totally different from his usual cold self, he warmly hugged He Kong, kept praising him as a rare talent, and even publicly trashed the former president as a useless guy. After that fake hype, Lee officially gave He Kong the position he was always aiming for: the safekeeper, the right-hand man responsible for managing his dirty money flow. But that gift wasn't free. He gave the first task right away, asking He Kong to take an amount of money from Secretary Kim and bring it to another apartment complex to fill in the money he had embezzled before. With just a few words, Lee accidentally confessed that he didn't just embezzle in one place but manipulated many different apartment complexes. He Kong calmly accepted, but his eyes showed that this was only the first step in his plan to infiltrate Lee's empire. Meanwhile, He Kang's group also traced the last tracks of the former president. Through the security camera system, they discovered he once appeared at the TGW farm but then completely vanished. The whole family also evaporated without leaving any trace. All records seemed to have been intentionally wiped clean by someone. Realizing the case went way beyond a normal embezzlement case, He Kong immediately asked his teammates to stop the investigation to avoid danger. He then personally went to TGW to carry out the task that Director Lee had assigned. There, he found the former president's name carved on a wooden marker right next to the young trees. Right then, Lee's secretary brought a sack containing exactly 10 billion won and handed it to He Kong. The money he had been looking for all this time was finally right before his eyes. But he didn't choose to take it to save Dong Man right away. Instead, he decided to finish the task Lee assigned. Just as he was driving away, Hey Kong suddenly received a call from Manager Sun. A cruel truth was revealed that made him freeze. Dong Man has late-stage pancreatic cancer and only has about 3 months to live. If he didn't want him to die in prison, Hey Kong had to bring the 10 billion immediately. Hearing that, he slammed on the brakes in the middle of the road, tears quietly falling as he stood before the most brutal choice of his life. On one side was a rare chance to fully win Lee's trust, to keep going deeper into the organization and the 10 billion safely. On the other side was the brother he owed so much to, who was nearing death, and only the money in the car could save him. The moment he turned the car around and yelled, "I'm bringing the 10 billion one. Let my brother go right now." Can he really save Dong Man with this 10 billion one? Everyone, stay tuned for the next episode. Facing the toughest choice of his life, Hey Kong finally decided to turn the car around to save Dong Man. He shouted at Manager Sun to release the man, then drove to the front of the police station carrying the sack with the huge amount of money. But just as he was pulling the money bag out of the car, his eyes accidentally caught a drawing Bum gave him sitting on the passenger seat. That image immediately brought back a flood of memories. Hey Kong remembered his siblings, his nephew, and the words Bum once said about him being the pillar of the family. He also remembered the mysterious disappearance of the former president and all the events he went through, from running for block representative to becoming the apartment president. Everything piling up made Hey Kong just burst into tears and helplessness. After thinking it through, Hey Kong decided not to hand over the 10 billion one to Sun, but to carry out the mission exactly as Director Lee had assigned. Right at that moment, Manager Sun appeared and without any respect, slapped Hey Kong right in the face, making the corner of his mouth bleed. He was furious because Hey Kong didn't bring the full 10 billion one as promised, and he complained that because he trusted Hey Kang's word, he had to go through the trouble of moving Dong Man to the hospital in the middle of the night. Sun coldly declared that if there was no money, Dong Man would die, and it would all be Hey Kang's fault. When he saw Sun about to make a call, Hey Kong immediately lunged forward to grab the phone, forcing him to order the release. However, Sun still kept the same attitude, insisting the deal must be finished first. Sun reminded him that Dong Man had a terminal illness and didn't have much time left, so as long as he brought the full 10 billion one, everything would be solved. Getting too angry, Hey Kong pinned Sun against the wall and yelled that the 10 billion one itself also had a terminal illness. After that, he went to the hospital to visit Dong Man, gently took his brother's hand, and said through tears, "Please try to hold on a little longer." After those words of encouragement, Hey Kong quietly left the hospital room. Meanwhile, Director Lee received a report from that management manager saying that he had received the full amount of money. That made Lee extremely satisfied because Hey Kong had proven his absolute loyalty. He compared the fools to those who only know how to eat, while trained dogs are the ones truly loyal to their master. Lee also brought up the plan of burying the artifacts that stalled the new urban area project, which doubled the maintenance fund, and he valued Hey Kang's abilities even more. After that, Hey Kong proactively went to see Director Lee to talk about the most important matter between them. He straightforwardly demanded a price that matched what he had delivered. When Lee asked how much he wanted, Hey Kong didn't hesitate to answer that it was 10 billion. He analyzed that thanks to his plan, the maintenance fund had doubled, and every month Lee would collect an extra 600 million, so that amount of money was totally worth it. Lee looked at Hey Kong for a moment and then agreed immediately, officially setting the pay at 10 billion. Returning home in the middle of the night, Hey Kong thought everyone was asleep, so he called out, but no one answered. Suddenly, all the lights in the house turned on, and the whole family appeared with a cake and birthday wishes, which made him very emotional. Haji urged Hey Kong to quickly make a wish and then blow out the candles. In that moment, Hey Kong quietly smiled among the people he always wanted to protect. The next day, a new problem broke out at the apartment complex. 2 women who weren't residents tried to get in to use the building's amenities by following behind someone else who swiped their card. A resident who witnessed that got annoyed because the management fees residents pay were being enjoyed for free by outsiders. At the same time at the coffee shop, the young moms were gossiping about the maintenance fund doubling and items like the new elevators not being done yet. The woman who just saw the tailgating immediately told the young moms group that she saw outsiders using the sauna for free by following residents with her own eyes. The story quickly caught everyone's attention. Everyone thought if it were true, it needed to be made public so the management office could handle it. A young mom then posted it on social media, making the incident spread quickly. While public opinion at the apartment was starting to stir, Director Lee hosted a fancy dinner party and invited the management manager and Ha Dong to attend. Both were quite tense because they didn't know who the main guest Lee mentioned was. Right as the doorbell rang, the person who walked in was exactly President Hey Kong. The whole dinner table was surprised, and Lee happily introduced Hey Kong like family and declared that from now on, everyone would work together to make money. Hey Kang's appearance at the party showed that his status had now completely changed, At this time, Director Lee took out gift bags to reward everyone. The gifts inside were nothing but stacks of cash, which made the management manager extremely excited. Then they toasted together to celebrate this partnership. After the party ended, the three of them, Hae Kong, the management manager, and Ha Dong went down the elevator together. Hae Kong asked the manager when he and Director Lee started working together, but just as he was about to say it, Ha Dong stopped him immediately. The elevator reached the floor just then, so everyone said goodbye and went home. On the way back, the management manager confided in Ha Dong that he just hoped everything would go smoothly so his child could focus on studying and graduate in Canada. As for Ha Ji, when her sister came home, she immediately turned off the lights and pretended to sleep. But her sister angrily said, "Little sister, stop the stand and act right now," and scolded her for not knowing what Hae Kong was really up to. And Ha Ji still trusted him completely and didn't understand why her sister reacted so harshly. After slamming the room door, Ha Dong tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. She took out the income and expense ledger that recorded all the money withdrawn from the maintenance fund, where every expense was recorded in great detail. She secretly did all of that just to secure the future for her younger sister Ha Ji, hoping she could become a good lawyer. But now things have gone too far, making her feel extremely regretful. Meanwhile, Hae Kong gathered the whole fake family at a fast food joint and announced that the accountant Ha Dong knew the truth about the fake family. However, he judged that Ha Dong also had many secrets, so she wouldn't reveal this. Hae Kong confirmed the whole crew would leave the apartment building as soon as they got the 10 billion won from Director Lee. The next morning, at the management office, residents were gossiping like crazy about outsiders illegally using the building's amenities, and many people demanded installing a facial recognition system to control who comes in and out. Hae Kong shut it down right away because he thought they shouldn't waste the maintenance fund on just a few violations. Instead, they just needed to find the right people and give them a warning. The curly lady agreed with him on this. After that, both of them decided to check the security cameras and cross-check resident cards to find any suspicious cases. Meanwhile, the old block rep group from the former president's faction also secretly met to discuss how to overthrow Hae Kong. They used the outsider amenities incident as an excuse to head to the management office to check out the situation. Even though they acted friendly on the outside, they actually just wanted to find a loophole to attack the management board. After hearing a staff member accidentally reveal that some social housing residents were involved in the incident, this group immediately spread fake news on social media, intentionally labeling all social housing people as those who take advantage of the apartment's free amenities. A series of insulting comments and smear papers quickly appeared everywhere, making many innocent residents targets of criticism. When he found out the cause of the situation, Hae Kong didn't blame the staff member but asked her to go directly and apologize to the people affected. Faced with the growing wave of discrimination, the social housing residents were forced to explain that they just wanted to live in peace like everyone else, and they proactively paid back the sauna use fees to prove they had no intention of taking advantage of anyone. While the vibe at the apartment still hadn't settled down after the social housing arguments, a new conflict exploded when moms and their little kids gathered to paint on a wall on the apartment grounds. Right then, the curly lady walked by and got extremely angry. She thought this action was vandalizing the residents' common property and showed a lack of responsibility in protecting collective assets. The moms immediately argued back that these were just drawings with chalk or colors that could be erased. Just a rain or using water would wash it off, so it wasn't worth making a scene. But the lady still stuck to her point, saying that way of thinking was too irresponsible. The argument quickly became heated, making the moms feel insulted, especially since they felt the curly lady was indirectly criticizing them for not knowing how to raise their kids. So frustrated, the whole group met at the coffee shop to discuss how to fight back. One person suggested looking up the lady's apartment info through the online registration system. As long as they knew the address, they could find the owner. At first, some felt this was a bit much, but others thought that even if they were wrong for letting kids paint on the wall, they didn't deserve to be called irresponsible or bad at raising kids. While searching for info, one mom suddenly discovered a secret about apartment 902 in block 112 and sent it to the chat group immediately. The whole group was extremely shocked and decided to have short hair stand up to embarrass the lady at the next resident meeting. At the fourth resident representative board meeting, Hae Kong announced the main topic was finding a solution to stop the illegal use of internal amenities. However, before the meeting started, the curly lady asked to speak and announced the results after spending many days and nights with Hae Kong checking all the security cameras. Within 1 month, they found a total of 108 cases of illegal amenity use. But only 4 cases were social housing residents. The remaining 104 cases were all homeowners. Hae Kong confirmed that the management went directly to each household to verify, and the violators all admitted their mistakes and promised not to do it again. Therefore, he hoped everyone would stop labeling and attacking social housing residents, because everyone is a resident of the apartment building and needs to respect each other. But right then, Short Hair suddenly exposed the lady's status by declaring that she also lives in a social housing unit. The manager immediately used the management's rules to ask her to leave the meeting on the grounds that only homeowners or rent-paying tenants have the right to participate. Some residents also took the chance to mock her, saying social housing residents don't have the status to speak, and that she previously pretended to be an owner to speak up and criticize others. Faced with a series of insults, the lady could no longer stay calm and stood up to protest. She asserted she fully has the right because she was legally approved by the state to live in the apartment for a term of 30 years. Even though she didn't spend a large amount of money to buy a house like many others, she still fully fulfills her obligations to pay management fees, rent, and related costs, absolutely not living off others or staying for free. Her powerful words not only protected her own honor but also spoke for the social housing residents who are suffering from stigma and discrimination. At the same time, it pushed the conflict between the different classes of residents in the apartment to its peak. After being publicly criticized by many residents and asked to leave the meeting just for living in social housing, the curly lady could no longer hold back her emotions and burst into tears, but still strongly stood up to protect her honor. She asserted that although the apartment is not a property she owns, she always takes responsibility for this place, even more than her own home. During the time she lived at the apartment, she personally cleaned and swept every small corner, always cherished every amenity, and considered this her real home. She questioned the block representatives if anyone cares about the apartment more than she does, if anyone knows where electricity is being wasted, which amenity is broken, or if there is any danger threatening the residents. According to her, the very people who always claim to have status have never truly cared about the residents' lives. She asserted that speaking up for a better community cannot be decided just by being rich or poor. Being stripped of the right to speak, forced to endure, and accept discrimination just because of a lower income is completely ridiculous. She flat out criticized the management convention being applied as unfair. Faced with the tense situation, Hae Kong immediately asked everyone to stop to keep things from going too far. Returning to her apartment in a devastated mood, the lady quietly looked around the house, remembering the early days when she moved in and personally took care of every small corner, seeing this place as the home for the two of them. Thinking about how all those efforts were now being denied just because of her status as a social housing resident, she collapsed onto the floor and cried like a child. After the meeting, Hae Kong stayed to talk to Shorthair and frankly blamed her for intentionally making the curly lady's status public just to make her ashamed in front of everyone. When Shorthair admitted her fault and apologized to Hae Kong, he immediately demanded that the person who needed an apology wasn't him, but the person she had hurt. The next morning, the curly lady was still lying tiredly on the sofa after the emotional shock. Right at that moment, her son saw that and gently comforted his mother. The boy said he is very happy living in this apartment, not because of the house's value, but because his mom always loves this place. To him, the most important thing isn't who the house belongs to, but whether the people living in it are happy or not. Those sincere words helped soothe her a bit, even though tears were still quietly falling. Meanwhile, Director Lee was having a meal with his secretary and was told that the new urban area plan must increase the number of social housing units according to the policy of the higher-ups to build a project image. This is for the people and to take care of the low-income class. Hearing this, Lee was extremely annoyed because he thought he had to spend money to build but was forced to give up land for social housing. He took his anger out on the meal and then continued to complain in the car that he didn't want low-income people appearing in the urban area he invested in. Not long after, Lee received a call from the manager reporting the argument between social housing residents and homeowners at the apartment. He also mentioned that Hae Kong was having a huge headache because the conflict was escalating. That made Lee even more satisfied. He scheduled a meeting with Hae Kong at a movie theater and intentionally brought up this topic again. Even though Lee kept claiming that people in social housing were the source of all the trouble, Hae Kong still calmly replied that the problem didn't lie with them, but with the judgmental eyes of those around them. However, Lee didn't agree at all and even thought that the social housing development policy was threatening his interests. According to Lee, if he wanted things to be clear, they should go public with every social housing unit so everyone knows who is who. He even mocked that the management would have less work in controlling things that way. He continued to suggest that Hae Kong get rid of all social housing residents, while promising to quickly prepare the 10 billion won as committed if Hae Kong followed the request. However, after returning home, Hae Kong sat down with Ha Ji to restudy the management convention and housing laws. After carefully studying the legal regulations, Hae Kong immediately went to see the curly lady and suggested she resign as the civil secretary to lead the establishment of a tenant representation board. At first, the lady was extremely surprised, but Hae Kong explained that according to special housing laws and revised regulations, apartment complexes with a large number of tenants have the full right to form their own representation board to protect their legitimate rights. The apartment currently has more than 1,000 households but still has no organization representing the tenants. So it's time to change the existing unfair rules. Hae Kong hoped she would become the leader to fight for the rights of the social housing resident group. With Hae Kang's trust, the lady was moved and accepted. Right after that, Hae Kang's whole fake family and many residents started organizing an election campaign, Thanks to everyone's support, the curly lady was officially appointed as the chairperson of the apartment's tenant representation board. The mothers who once had conflicts with her also brought flowers to congratulate her and took the initiative to make peace. She happily accepted the flowers, said she had put past things aside, and hoped that from now on, everyone would build a better living environment together. Haekong also reminded her that since she is now the chairperson, she needs to be more careful in every word and action. Then the lady also sincerely told Haekong that she no longer cared what kind of person he used to be, nor did she want to know why he had to set up a fake family or had other motives. The only thing she saw was that Haekong was trying to turn the apartment into a better place to live, and for her, that was more than enough. Meanwhile, Director Lee received the news that the curly lady had become the chairperson of the tenant representation board and was extremely annoyed. He originally wanted to get rid of the social housing group, but now they have a legal representative organization, making things no longer go his way. At the same time, another incident happened in Ha-ji's family. While cleaning the house, Ha-ji accidentally discovered a ledger with detailed records of all income and expenses related to the apartment repair fund hidden by her sister. Right when Ha-dong returned, Ha-ji questioned her immediately. Ha-dong tried to hide the truth, but Ha-ji didn't accept it. She painfully realized the money her sister used to raise her for law school came from illegal funds. Even though Ha-dong explained that she was just following orders and had to choose this because law school tuition was so expensive, Ha-ji still couldn't accept it. She insisted she didn't want to keep living on that kind of money and demanded her sister quit the job immediately. The argument quickly got intense as Ha-dong felt helpless about the situation, and Ha-ji was pained because her trust had been betrayed. In the end, Ha-ji left in anger, leaving Ha-dong sitting there crying in guilt and despair. After all the constant trouble, Ha-dong finally decided to end everything. She proactively met the manager and asserted that she couldn't continue this job anymore. Ha-dong resigned and asked him to put in a good word with Director Lee so everything could end peacefully. However, the manager immediately objected because he thought this could threaten both of their lives. Even so, Ha-dong stuck to her decision. She revealed she was holding the ledger that recorded all the income, expenses, and wrongdoings they had committed all this time. Ha-dong promised that if she was allowed to quit, she would personally destroy the ledger, keep the secret for life, and not report anyone. The manager was extremely worried, so he immediately reported the whole story to Director Lee. Hearing that Ha-dong held an important ledger, Lee immediately went to the management office. The manager tried to explain that Ha-dong didn't intend to betray them. She just wanted to leave and promised to stay silent if her resignation was accepted. However, Lee didn't believe it at all. He thought someone who had been secretly recording everything for a long time couldn't be trusted. Also, to him, Ha-dong's existence was like wearing wet shoes, not washing your hands after using the bathroom, or not showering after working out an uncomfortable feeling he just wanted to get rid of immediately. Lee's anger and suspicion showed that he absolutely wouldn't accept any threat to his secrets. Not long after, Lee proactively asked to meet Haekong at a park. He suddenly asked what Haekong would do if he had a torn bandage on his hand. Haekong replied that he would rip it off even if it bled because he didn't like the uncomfortable feeling. Lee smiled and said, "Me too," then gave Haekong a new mission. He said, "Secretary Kim will get in touch that night. Haekong just needs to drive the truck exactly as instructed. Go when told to go, stop when told to stop, and after finishing, he'll get the full 10 billion as promised." Because he wanted the money to save Dong Man, Haekong accepted the offer. That night, while Haekong was waiting at the meeting point, Secretary Kim showed up and asked him to start the truck and wait for a call from Director Lee. After the call was connected, Lee kept directing Haekong to drive in each direction, finally asking him to speed up as much as possible toward a bus stop about 300 meters away. When he saw a girl waiting for the bus, Lee coldly ordered Haekong to plow right into her. At the deciding moment, Haekong couldn't kill an innocent person, so he immediately steered in another direction. The truck swerved towards Secretary Kim, who was sitting in a car nearby, but luckily there was no collision yet. Haekong quickly opened the car door, threw something down, and immediately drove away from the scene. As for Ha-dong, she had a huge scare and collapsed to the ground. Witnessing the whole thing, Lee went crazy with rage. After driving away, Haekong went to Director Lee's house. At this time, he pulled the sack with 10 billion won out in front of Haekong and reminded him that he had kept his promise. As long as Haekong killed that girl, he would have the money to save Dong Man right away. He couldn't understand why Haekong gave up the chance just for a stranger. Lee scolded Haekong for being a bad person but not being cruel enough, and Haekong flat out talked back, saying that Lee was the real piece of trash. That sentence made Lee extremely surprised, but he also gave a delighted smile. He admitted that the more they interacted, the more he felt Haekong was a very interesting person. Could Ha-ji's sister quit her job safely? And what will Haekong have to do next? It turns out right before the accident with Ha-young took place, Ha-ji ran to Haekong crying for help. She revealed her sister was holding a secret ledger that recorded all the evidence of the maintenance fund embezzlement, and she was worried her sister had fallen into a dangerous plot. Only then did Hae Kong know that Ha Young was Ha Ji's sister. He immediately guessed Lee's intention when he paid 10 billion to have him drive it was to silence Ha Young. Realizing that even if he refused, Lee would just hire another hitman to take the spot. Hae Kong decided to drive himself to find a way to save her. He pretended to follow orders, making it look like he was going to plow right into Ha Young, but at the last second he suddenly swerved. Immediately, two subordinates who were waiting in ambush rushed out and took Ha Young away from the danger zone. The mission failed, so Hae Kong officially laid his cards on the table with Lee and also exposed the existence of the secret ledger. Seeing this, Lee immediately made a new deal, using the ledger to trade for the freedom of Hae Kang's foster father. Right in front of him, he called Chief Kwok, agreeing to let him join the exclusive club on the condition that he release the man immediately. Chief Kwok nodded and agreed without a second thought. Returning home, Hae Kong pressed Ha Young about where the ledger was hidden. Ha Ji revealed that she was the one who hid it, and her sister didn't know the location at all. Hae Kong asked Ha Ji to hand over the ledger because the current situation was beyond the control of the two sisters. The person who wanted to silence Ha Young had a massive backing. Only by giving the ledger to him would Hae Kong have something to negotiate with. But Ha Ji firmly refused. The ledger not only recorded Lee's crimes, but also kept evidence of her sister faking the books for them. Handing it over now would be like pushing her sister into jail with her own hands. At the same time, Lee's henchmen used cameras to find out that Ha Young was hiding at Hae Kang's house. And they even exposed the truth that his so-called family was just a fake. Ha Ji was just a wife he paid to hire, and those three brothers were subordinates from the casino. Lee immediately came up with a new plan. Since they were just a group gathered for money, he would just use money to break them apart. At the same time, Hae Kong also used the call between Lee and Chief Kwok to piece together the whole picture. Chief Kwok wanted a spot in the exclusive club, so he had to pay a joining fee of up to 10 billion. That was the reason he kept putting pressure on him to get the cash. Meanwhile, the one who actually had the power to manipulate things behind the exclusive club was Lee. Hae Kong decided to investigate who else was in the exclusive club and what exactly Lee was up to. To divide Hae Kong and the fake family, Lee waited for Ha Ji to appear alone in the residential area. As soon as they met, he offered a price of 500 million won in exchange for the secret ledger. Only then did Ha Ji realize that the dangerous person Hae Kong had been hinting at for so long was Lee. She flat out refused the deal and warned him that if he dared to touch her sister again, she definitely wouldn't let it slide. Seeing the money tactic fail, Lee immediately laid his cards on the table about Hae Kong, revealing that he spent money to hire her to fake being a wife just to clear the path to climb into the president's chair to steal all 17 billion from the maintenance fund. From start to finish, he only saw her as a pawn in his game, and she couldn't stomach the feeling of being deceived. Harry blew a fuse and rushed straight home. As soon as she saw Hae Kong, she went off on him so hard, he didn't even have time to react. She originally thought he truly wanted to be a dedicated president, which is why she worked so hard as his advisor, never imagining his main goal was just aiming for the 17 billion maintenance fund. Hae Kong also got fired up and snapped back that, at first, didn't she agree to join the scripted family just for the money too? So the two of them got into a heated argument with no end in sight. When Harry took her sister and was about to leave, Hae Kong reminded her that the fact Lee found his way here meant he already knew Ha Young was hiding there. Walking out the door right now would be like turning themselves in. Ha Young calmed down and pulled her sister into the room, analyzing that before saving her. Hae Kong already knew the 17 billion had been drained long ago. Plus, even though Harry refused to hand over the books, he still risked everything to protect both of them, proving his nature wasn't as bad as Lee made it out to be. After cooling off, Harry proactively went to talk to Hae Kong. He confessed that the police were intentionally holding his foster father to force him to pay, making him do whatever it took to scrape up that huge amount of cash. He admitted that running for president at first did have bad motives, and he apologized for dragging an innocent person like Harry into this act. Still, he guaranteed that even if she never handed over the ledger, he would still keep both sisters safe and hoped they would feel okay staying. Harry finally understood Hae Kang's situation, so she didn't blame him anymore. But in front of everyone, both were too proud to back down and speak first, so they had to use Bum as a messenger. The smart kid immediately turned into a top-tier bridge, pretending to be grumpy to force them to shake hands and make up. "You guys are good now, okay? Give each other a big hug." Lee had no idea his plan to divide them had failed. Right now, he was leading the members of the exclusive club to survey the new urban project, planning to make a killing from this deal. In another scene, Hae Kang's subordinates disguised themselves as geological survey workers and secretly took photos of all the exclusive club members' faces. Back home, the three of them revealed the identities of these guys to Hae Kong. Besides Lee, the exclusive club brought together the Minister of Interior powerful only after the president, the Supreme Court judge, the chairman of a major newspaper, and the chief prosecutor. These guys controlled everything from the law to the media, all the most heavyweight figures in South Korea. At this point, Hae Kong finally understood that the reason Lee acted like he owned the world was because he had a massive backup crew behind him. Before everyone could think of a way to fight Lee, Mrs. Trang suddenly rang the doorbell. Having just become the chair of the tenant association, Mrs. Trang was on night patrol when she discovered a huge crack on the outside of the kindergarten, so big that the steel bars were sticking out. The whole building could collapse at any moment. Since it directly involved the kid's safety, she went straight to find Hey Kong. The next morning, while taking Bum to school, Harry also heard the mothers gossiping that this kindergarten project was definitely a cut corners job. Mrs. Trang was hesitant. Exposing the truth might drop the house prices, but hiding it meant the kids had to study in a crumbling brick kiln every day. That night, Hey Kong led the whole group to sneak into the kindergarten to check, and just one look showed how serious it was. The floor was tilted completely to one side, walls were cracked everywhere, and the ceiling was leaking. It was truly a crumbling building. Haji told everyone that the parents had complained before, and after that, a quality inspection company came to look but judged the building to be absolutely safe. Hey Kong immediately realized this was a dirty trick by Tezen Construction, the unit that built the kindergarten. For the safety of the kids, while he hadn't thought of a solution yet, he had to take them to the amusement park to play and temporarily skip school. After that, Hey Kong called an emergency meeting and brought all the photos of the kindergarten's hollowed-out construction for the building representatives to see. After seeing them, the mothers were furious and demanded the truth be brought to light at all costs. However, some other representatives were worried that exposing the truth would drop real estate prices, so they firmly objected, leading to a heated argument between the two sides. Haji believed they couldn't stay silent just because some people objected. If it couldn't be settled internally, then just expose it to the press. But Hey Kong reminded her that the power behind Lee already controlled the media. If it was exposed, the article would be taken down in a heartbeat. Haji got angry and said if they couldn't use the existing press, they would make their own media. That one sentence woke Hey Kong up immediately. It turns out there was a TikToker with 1 million followers hidden in the Parents Association. Every time she went live she wore a mask so no one knew her identity. But Hey Kong recognized her voice immediately. He asked her to make a video to expose them, using the power of the online community to reveal all the cut-corner violations of Tezen Construction. Since it directly involved the safety of the kids, she nodded and agreed right away. That very night, she led Hey Kang's group into the kindergarten and used a funny voiceover to reveal every dangerous corner. Doing business without a conscience, cutting corners, and skimping on materials. The name of this company is Tezen Construction. As soon as the video was posted, the views skyrocketed. Tezen Construction immediately got hit with a full-blown PR crisis. The group of officials colluding with Lee were afraid it would affect the new urban area project, so they repeatedly called to pressure him to clean up the mess right away. Lee was so angry he grit his teeth, wanting to tear Hey Kong into 100 pieces. Hey Kong knew full well he would go crazy, but he was still thrilled because he had just dealt him a painful blow. Not long after the fun, a post suddenly appeared on the resident forum exposing Hey Kong for corruption. In the video, the head of the management board personally appeared to accuse him, saying that the 17 billion maintenance fund the residents saved for years had been completely wiped out by President Hey Kong and finance manager Ha Young working together. I was tricked by sophisticated fake documents and their plot, turning me into a tool. Hey Kong immediately went to find the head of the management board, but found the old guy had vanished without a trace. Following the explosion of the accusation video, residents started to doubt Hey Kong. The trust that was so hard to build collapsed completely in an instant. Worse yet, the police quickly rushed in to make an arrest. Hey Kong immediately told Lizard and Ha Young to go into hiding right away. To protect everyone, he didn't resist at all, proactively putting his hands out for the handcuffs and letting the police escort him away. Hey Kong was falsely accused of embezzling tens of billions in maintenance money, so he was hauled off by the police to the station for investigation. The apartment residents are beyond furious, and they're all ganging up to call Hey Kong a piece of trash. To save Hey Kong, Ha Young and the three bros were going to go public with the secret ledger. But Haji kept a cool head and analyzed that from start to finish, the ledger doesn't mention Lee's name at all. All the embezzled money went through President Suk and the manager. Putting it out now wouldn't take down Lee, and it would accidentally help him clear his name completely. Lee's real goal is to break up this scripted family. Before leaving, Hey Kong told them to hold down the fort, so right now they have to stick together even more. The group is determined to prove that, even if the family is fake, the embezzlement definitely didn't happen. In another scene, the moms who exposed the low-quality kindergarten with Hey Kong also started to doubt him, feeling bitter because they thought they were being played. But Mrs. Zhang stood up to defend Hey Kong, saying that if he really stole 17 billion, he would have run far away to another country, so why would he stay back to take the heat for everyone? Instead of making wild guesses, it's better to think of a way to find that money first. To clear up the truth, Mrs. Zhang immediately thought of the manager. Right now, he is drinking alone to forget his sorrows. Making the clip showing his face to accuse Hey Kong of embezzlement wasn't his idea at all. He was forced by Lee to do it. Lee threatened that if he didn't listen, he would also vanish without a trace just like President Suk. He was afraid of dying and afraid of involving his family, so he packed his bags to run away in the middle of the night. But just as he snuck out the door, Mrs. Zhang ambushed him and caught him on the spot. To escape, he pushed Mrs. Zhang hard and jumped into a taxi. Little did he know, the driver was actually one of Hey Kang's subordinates, so he basically walked right into the trap. Lee still doesn't know the manager was caught, and he even went to the police station to mock Hey Kong, saying he's just a loser in his hands. He also mockingly told Haekong not to dream of using the cut corners construction exposure to get justice. Whether it's a luxury or a basic apartment, skimping on materials is the unwritten rule of this industry. Chief Kwok, hiding outside and eavesdropping, was also going crazy because of Lee's arrogance. In his eyes, that guy had become so arrogant that he trampled over both the state and the law. If he keeps playing this foolish game, sooner or later he'll drag the whole bunch of them down the cliff. He doesn't want to keep being the one to clean up Lee's messes anymore. Chief Kwok immediately ordered Captain Sun to thoroughly investigate the low-quality kindergarten case to get leverage on him. Since the police couldn't find any evidence of Haekang's embezzlement, he was released after being held for 24 hours. But as soon as he got back to the apartment, he was surrounded by residents who didn't know the full story. Everyone was yelling to kick him out, even throwing salt and eggs all over him. In that emergency, Ha-ji ran straight out with an umbrella to protect Haekong, showing her stand to go through thick and thin together. Seeing Ha-ji also get hit by eggs, Haekong lost it and firmly declared he would get back the full 17 billion. Whoever dares to touch his people should get ready for some expensive consequences. Right after that, the subordinates led Haekong to the kindergarten to meet the tied-up manager. As soon as he saw Haekong, he knelt on his face and begged to save his life. Lee was supposed to ship him abroad, and if he finds out the old guy is still stuck here, he'll definitely hunt him down everywhere. Just stepping outside would mean game over. Hearing that the manager was caught thanks to Mrs. Zhang's big help, Haekong was extremely grateful because she still kept her faith in him, not hiding anything anymore. He confessed his original goal of moving to the apartment was indeed to target the maintenance money. But as soon as he took the position of representative head, he found out the fund had been drained long ago. As for Mrs. Zhang, seeing Haekang's dedication lately with her own eyes, she chose to believe what she saw and heard, and was ready to give him a chance to redeem himself, recovering the full 17 billion to make up for his past wrong intentions. Haekong was moved and held Mrs. Zhang's hand tightly, promising for sure that he wouldn't let her down. To celebrate Haekang's safe return, Ha-ji's group prepared a big feast. Everyone gathered around, enjoying the food and chatting up a storm. This family, originally put together to scam, had somehow turned into a real home without anyone noticing. After the meal, Ha-ji officially handed over the secret ledger to Haekong. As for Ha-young, she was mentally prepared to take all the blame, only hoping Haekong would use this weapon to take down Lee, making all her longtime patience worth it. After checking the books, Haekong told the manager that only his name and President Suk were on them. Now that President Suk is dead, once it goes public, Lee will definitely pin all the blame on him, while he himself washes his hands of everything. The manager was terrified after hearing that, frantically begging for a way out and promising to obediently cooperate with all of Haekang's plans. At the same time, Lee was having an emergency meeting with the exclusive club members while the kindergarten construction scandal was blowing up. Some big officials who are usually controlled by Lee took this chance to push back, demanding to put their own people into the new urban project. Seeing that Lee wouldn't agree, these guys immediately threatened him. They declared that in their eyes, Lee was just a spare tire that could be replaced at any time. As long as the little brother listens and behaves, they won't throw the spare tire away. Lee didn't dare to act tough anymore and had to promise to settle this mess smoothly tomorrow. Not knowing how Lee would turn his back, Haekong decided to stop by the hospital to visit his foster father first. Knowing time was running out, this could very well be the last time the two of them met. The foster father spoke up for the first time, admitting he had seen him as family for a long time. Hearing this, Haekong couldn't hold back his tears, and they poured out. Anxious to get his dad out, he decided to hand over all the construction evidence to Captain Sun. Haekong analyzed that if the Tezen group collapsed because of this scandal, the exclusive club would definitely take a heavy blow. At that time, Chief Kwok and Captain Sun wouldn't need to try and get into the exclusive club anymore. They could use this pile of evidence to knock Lee down and use the momentum to get promoted. Totally convinced by this plan, Captain Sun took the files and promised that when Lee fell, he would immediately finish the paperwork to let his foster father go free for treatment. The next day, Lee summoned the apartment residents for a meeting and even brought in dozens of media and press outlets. In front of the cameras, he gave a fake apology and pinned all the blame on the subcontractors to clear Tezen Group's name. Seeing the people weren't biting, he immediately promised to tear down and rebuild the entire kindergarten, hiring a famous architect to design it and upgrade it into an elite standard school. During construction, the kids would get to study for free at a fancy bilingual kindergarten nearby. All tuition and bus fees would be sponsored by Tezen from A to Z. The residents' attitude immediately flipped 180 degrees. Some people who used to be on President Suk's side even clapped and praised Lee for having so much heart and vision. Right when Lee was sure the storm had passed, Haekong unexpectedly charged into the meeting room with a hammer. Before anyone could react, he raised the hammer and dealt several crushing blows to the meeting room wall. What the hell is this? It's completely filled with trash inside. Where did all the steel reinforcement go? Chunks of plaster came crashing down, making everyone freeze in their tracks. That massive wall was completely stuffed with construction waste. The solid load-bearing steel frame that was supposed to be there was nowhere to be found. It turns out He Kang's group had secretly checked the entire apartment complex and discovered that many spots which should have had steel reinforcement were completely hollowed out. He Kang exposed right in front of the press and the residents that the problem didn't just stop at the kindergarten, but involved this whole apartment complex. Every single one of the 9,800 apartments has a hidden risk of extremely serious safety hazards. Are you planning to tear down all these nearly 10,000 apartments to rebuild from scratch? Lee originally intended to use the press conference to shut down the scandal, but he didn't expect He Kang to poke a massive hole in it right then and there. He immediately called the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, demanding all clips and articles from the scene be taken down right away. But the editor-in-chief said it was too late. The keyword Tezen trash wall had already climbed straight to the #1 search spot. Social media platforms were gradually sharing it, and there was no way to block it anymore. Driven into a corner, Lee completely lost his mind. To get revenge on He Kang, he rushed straight to the hospital and personally ripped out his foster father's life support tube. By the time He Kang rushed to the hospital, everything was too late. His foster father finally breathed his last breath due to respiratory failure. Having tried until the end but still failing to save his foster father, He Kang was completely crushed by guilt and sorrow. He knelt by the hospital bed, crying silently. Even more cruel was that on the very day of the foster father's funeral, Lee still showed his face to offer condolences. He used the excuse of seeing the old man off for the last time, but in reality, he was threatening He Kang to know when to back off. If he still dared to stubbornly stand in the way, the next person on the chopping block would definitely be the one he treasures most in his life. Watching Lee's arrogant back as he walked away, He Kang clenched his fists and let out a bitter, choked roar. This time, he was determined to make Lee pay in blood. This episode is over. Will He Kang turn the tables to make Lee pay in blood before another loved one falls? After director Lee turned to leave, He Kang couldn't hold back his anger, so he ran after him and threw a punch at him. Secretary Kim quickly stopped him, but director Lee got even more annoyed and coldly scolded him, saying he shouldn't be rude. He Kang looked straight at him and declared that Lee was the biggest bandage of his life, and he would personally tear him apart and make him suffer all the pain he had caused. Director Lee gave a faint smile and said he would be waiting, but warned He Kang to be careful. The one who gets torn first might be you, he said, then coldly walked away. He Kang still couldn't accept the fact that Dong Man was dead. When he was about to leave, Haji appeared and asked where he wanted to go. He Kang said he wanted to find Director Lee for revenge because Dong Man's death was his fault. He didn't know how to face him. Haji immediately said He Kang wasn't leaving for revenge, but because he didn't have enough courage to face Dong Man's funeral photo. He Kang angrily asked what she knew to judge him, then admitted he was in so much pain that his heart felt like it was tied in knots. He collapsed. Haji gently comforted him, telling him to just cry it all out to feel better. In the funeral home, the curly lady also came to help. Many people came to visit Dong Man one by one. Ha Dong, the fake dad of He Kang, stepped up to encourage him and said that the scariest person in a card game is the one who has nothing left to lose, and also the person who has the most reasons not to be allowed to lose. The people here right now are the reason He Kang must win. Meanwhile, Director Lee summoned all his subordinates to the office and made them kneel in front of him, demanding they come up with a solution. One person suggested apologizing and promising it wouldn't happen again. Another wanted to go public with the progress to wipe out the stain of careless construction. Someone else proposed promoting the financial situation to keep investors. Director Lee mocked the useless directors who still got paid, then ordered to cut the apartment prices at the Man new urban area in half and promote it heavily. At the same time, invite the most expensive singers and actors in Korea to be representatives. When someone worried the company's capital had run out, he got angry and declared that even if he had to give up everything, he had to save the company. At this time, the exclusive club had a secret meeting. For old men discussed how to kick Director Lee out of the club because they thought he had become an old tire with no value left. But the entire conversation was overheard by him. Director Lee walked in, bringing 4 flower pots, slammed them on the table, and said he had already picked out the grave sites and dug 4 nice holes to bury them, and these trees would be planted on the graves. He said he chose a pine tree for the Supreme Court judge because he valued etiquette, a plum blossom tree for the hot-tempered civil secretary to learn patience, and told the others to pick their own trees. When the civil secretary got angry, he coldly replied that he had just come back from looking at where their bodies would be buried, warning them not to let him actually bury them all alive. Facing the chaotic media situation, he demanded the club handle it themselves, not to look for another tire but to make the current tire keep running. Finally, he declared that if he died, everyone would have to die with him, then slammed the table and said this was the final warning. After the funeral, He Kang and his subordinates returned to the restaurant where they used to eat with Dong Man. He ordered a bowl of black bean noodles, quietly mixed them, and remembered the days when Dong Man was still with everyone, especially the retirement party when Dong Man retired. Those memories made He Kang even more determined to get revenge. After that, he went to the cemetery to say goodbye to Dong Man and began a new, dangerous journey. Meanwhile, Manager Sun met the chief and handed over the evidence that He Kang had brought before. The chief thought the evidence wasn't enough to hurt Director Lee and ordered it to be destroyed. Manager Sun was worried that He Kang had nothing left to lose now. If He Kang found out they covered up the Dong Man incident, Sun didn't know what he would do. The chief said both Hei Kong and Director Lee were crazy, so they had to hide behind even bigger powers. Right then, Director Lee called to report that he had officially joined the exclusive club, considering it a gift for the chief helping cover up the Dong Man incident. The chief was extremely happy. Right after that, Secretary Kim reported he had found the manager's whereabouts. Through the cameras, they knew that after leaving the apartment, he ran into the curly lady and was taken to an abandoned room in the kindergarten. Hearing that, Director Lee coldly said he didn't know which type of tree to plant for the manager. Secretary Kim also reported to Lee that the apartment residents were getting rowdy because the curly lady kept egging everyone on. He said he would give her some money to shut her up. Director Lee thought Secretary Kim knew nothing. People like her only wanted vanity and status, not really money. Then he went to the president's office and gave the curly lady an extremely attractive offer. Just quit her current position to let things settle down, and he would give her a villa in the Man urban area. The curly lady looked at the villa and flat out said it was beautiful, but she wanted much more than that. Director Lee was surprised and asked what she wanted, and the answer made him speechless. The curly lady thought if you added up all the money Director Lee stole from the residents along with the bad things he did, 10 villas wouldn't be worth much. With the confidence of someone who graduated with honors from Seoul University, she asserted she was capable of telling right from wrong, even comparing Director Lee to something not worth her time. Being rejected to his face, Director Lee had to leave. However, he quickly came back, pretending to praise her as a beauty, but the curly lady didn't hold back and talked back, making him leave in a huff. Meanwhile, while passing the construction site of the Man urban area, Hei Kong stopped his car and saw the massive advertisements about the rebirth of the Oman urban area with a discount of up to 50%. It turns out Director Lee held a press conference to handle the scandals surrounding his construction company. In front of the media, he publicly apologized to people nationwide, admitting he betrayed the trust everyone had for Tezin. To get his image back, he declared the company would open sales for social welfare, providing housing at reasonable prices to win back people's trust. This trick quickly worked when hundreds and thousands of Koreans immediately competed to buy the cheap houses in locations advertised as prime. Hei Kong also quickly got the news and was very surprised. Everyone knew this company did a lousy job, yet people still responded just because it was cheap. Right then, Hei Kong walked out and called on everyone in the family to help him win this bet. The fake dad, even though he was old, declared that if he could help Hei Kong, he would do his best. The others in the family, including Ha Dong, also agreed to stand together and do everything they could. They decided to hit the things Director Lee valued most: money, fame, and power. Instead of a direct confrontation, they would use public opinion and the law to make him unable to defend himself. That very night, Secretary Kim led his people to catch the manager. But Hei Kang's family was one step ahead and took him home. There, they asked about the TG World Farm, a place rumored to be used for more than just growing plants. It is where the stolen money is hidden. The manager confessed that every time they got cash, he and the former president brought it there. From this confession, Hei Kong learned that about 17.8 billion won was buried at the farm. Hei Kong immediately realized this was more precious than life itself to Director Lee, because if this money were found, everything he built would collapse. When he found out the manager had disappeared, Director Lee angrily slapped Secretary Kim and complained that he wasn't usually like this. Secretary Kim could only bow his head and apologize. Over at the farm, Bum's dad used a drone to watch the whole area. After gathering the images, everyone realized TG World didn't look like a normal farm at all. It was more like a fortress built to hide secrets. Back at the house, the Glass's brother immediately called to report the farm for illegal waste dumping, while also contacting major newspapers to put pressure on them through public opinion. The chubby brother wouldn't be outdone and kept calling to report that the place had illegal slaughtering activities, causing a huge amount of waste and a terrible smell. Bum's dad had to act like a horse for his son to ride while also making calls to report them. Meanwhile, the fake dad put out even more serious information, saying that under the farm's basement, there was a dog kennel and they even caught and killed rare animals. Ha Dong also called the inspection office, reporting that the environmental department was slacking off on their duties and warning that if they didn't control it strictly, she would consider it a conspiracy and take the story to the press. A series of phone calls made the environmental office nearly blow up. The chief immediately ordered a staff meeting and headed to TG World to verify. During that time, Director Lee and his council were also present at the farm. He demanded the people below him remember his power and not look down on him. Secretary Kim even brought the chief along, who carried 2 gift bags with a cheerful face as if everything were still under control. But right then, a government vehicle appeared. Hei Kong and his subordinates stepped out. Hei Kong took out an official ID and declared he was from the district office. But the security guard immediately stopped him and said someone had already come to investigate this morning. Hei Kong calmly explained they were from the higher office, and since the case was causing a stir, it needed an in-depth investigation. When the guard kept trying to delay them, Hei Kong suspected something was wrong even more and demanded to call the police. Not wanting to deal with the police, the security team finally let Hei Kong and everyone inside. As soon as he walked in, Hei Kong immediately found the exclusive club gathering, including Director Lee and many powerful figures like the Supreme Court judge, the civil secretary, the chief prosecutor, the editor-in-chief, and the chief. Hei Kong didn't hesitate to mock them, saying the most powerful people in Korea had gathered here just to trim trees. Director Lee angrily told Hae Kong to get lost. But Hae Kong started pointing out evidence and names related to the exclusive club one by one. When he mentioned the name of the former apartment president and hinted at digging up the area to find evidence, Director Lee lost his cool even more. A member of the exclusive club also warned him to handle things quickly and then left. This showed that even those who once stood on his side were starting to fear being dragged into it. By evening, a bunch of trucks appeared at the TG World Farm. Director Lee and Secretary Kim seemed to want to move important things out, while also using many trucks as bait to distract Hae Kong. However, Hae Kong had prepared very well and split his people into groups to follow each truck, including the young mothers. One truck stopped in front of a large warehouse. Secretary Kim got out and went inside, and Hae Kang's group followed him. When they checked the back of the truck, a group of people dressed in black appeared. Right after that, many other cars pulled up, surrounding Hae Kang's group. The number of opponents was too high, so everyone had to fight to clear a path. Hae Kong moved quickly, taking down attackers one after another. The Glasses brother, who was usually gentle, also unexpectedly showed off his fighting skills with some really cool stick fighting moves. The chubby brother, because he ate too much, could barely run. Luckily, Bum's dad pulled him up just in time. In that critical moment, Fake Dad showed up with a car to rescue everyone. The whole crew quickly jumped in to get away. But before Fake Dad could get in, Secretary Kim rushed over and stabbed him in the stomach, then tried to attack Hae Kong. Hae Kong kicked him away immediately, and then they pulled Fake Dad into the car. On the way, Hae Kong was super worried, constantly telling him to stay awake because they were rushing him to the hospital. But right after that, Fake Dad suddenly burst out laughing and pulled out a book that had blocked the knife. The whole group breathed a sigh of relief, while Hae Kong got mad because he was scared to death. Fake Dad didn't forget to joke that Hae Kong is handsome but has a soft heart, which made everyone laugh. Meanwhile, Ha-ji and the moms kept tracking the rest of the cars. Hae Kong had warned Ha-ji that the first few cars were likely just decoys, so she had to stay and watch. Sure enough, another car appeared, and the driver was Director Lee. Ha-ji chased him immediately. Those previous cars were just a distraction. The real car was heading back to the apartment complex. Director Lee had no idea Ha-ji was tailing him, but when Ha-ji tried to enter the basement, she was blocked because there were no guards in that area. Now the truth was revealed. A massive amount of money that Director Lee embezzled was hidden right inside the apartment complex. Hae Kong had to find the exact apartment he used to stash the cash. In the meantime, the exclusive club gathered to discuss how to handle the situation. They wanted the chief to step in and arrange for Director Lee to disappear from the game as cleanly as possible. The chief understood the plan and declared he would handle everything quietly. At Hae Kang's house, everyone focused on finding the secret apartment. The curly lady brought over some kimchi pancakes and was surprised to see the manager and Ha Dong there. The whole group started deducing where Director Lee could hide the money. Glass's brother thought it could be a storage room or a common area, but the manager thought those places had too much foot traffic. Chubby brother thought of Director Lee's villa, but Hae Kong realized that place would be too easy to investigate. Finally, Hae Kong suggested looking for vacant apartments instead of ones under Director Lee's name. The curly lady quickly found a few suspicious units. Then, Ha Dong discovered an apartment that was still being auto-charged for management fees, but the recent usage was zero. That was Unit 2903, which used to belong to the former president. Glass's brother immediately used his skills to open the door. When everyone walked in, they found fruit crates, but inside they were filled with cash. Finally, Hae Kong found the 17.8 billion won that Director Lee intentionally hid. Hae Kong declared they had to take this money back and return it to the residents. The curly lady suggested calling the police, but Hae Kong thought the police might be manipulated by the exclusive club. If they reported it now, the money might vanish. So he decided to use this exact situation to turn the tables. Hae Kong suggested that the manager and Ha Dong take responsibility and confess that this was the former president's money and they wanted to return all the embezzled funds. Everyone agreed to the plan. The curly lady realized Hae Kong was very smart and suggested going public with the 17.8 billion so all the residents would know, turning 9,800 households into witnesses. Ha Dong also decided that after going public, she would go to the police station as promised. Bum's dad encouraged her not to be afraid and even said if she went to jail, he'd buy a cake and wait for her outside. He admitted he used to lose faith in women, but Ha Dong made him believe there are still good people in the world, and he flat out admitted he was hitting on her. Ha Dong smiled and said she liked mango cake, making Bum's dad feel shy. The night before going public, everyone split up to stand guard. Hae Kong and Ha-ji were in charge of the main door. Seeing Hae Kong was tired, Ha-ji offered her shoulder for him to rest. Just as Hae Kong was about to lean on her, Fake Dad suddenly appeared and startled them. He joked that the two of them should stop flirting and took over the guard duty. Before leaving, Ha-ji said tomorrow everything would end, and she really wanted to see Director Lee's face. Hae Kong asserted that they definitely had to make it so he couldn't laugh anymore. He also promised that after everything ended, he would help Ha-ji go back to law school and take care of her. When Ha-ji asked why he was doing so much, Hae Kong said it was because she always saw him as a daddy long legs. like a sponsor who always secretly helps out. Haji laughed because that line was so cheesy. But Haekong said the ending of the Daddy Longlegs story is usually the female lead marrying that uncle. That line made Haji embarrassed, and Haekong was also surprised by the words he just said. The next morning, Haekong publicly displayed the 17.8 billion amount before all the apartment residents. He declared that thanks to the confession of the manager and the chief accountant, the embezzled maintenance fund was finally found. Haekong wanted the residents to check with their own eyes to clear all doubts, while calling on everyone to monitor collective assets together to prevent similar cases from happening again. The residents were extremely excited as they took turns opening the money boxes. But as soon as the first box was opened, everyone was stunned. There was no money inside, only flyers. Haekong immediately checked the remaining boxes, and the results were exactly the same. Only now did he realize the fake dad had secretly taken all 17.8 billion. The plan that seemed perfect vanished into thin air in an instant. Haekong held the papers in his hands, both angry and helpless, then laughed crazily, and finally shouted the name Lizard out loud. After discovering all 17.8 billion won was taken by the fake dad, nicknamed Lizard. Haekong and everyone checked the cameras and realized Lizard and Secretary Kim had taken the money and run away. However, Haekong quickly discovered that Lizard intentionally turned on the phone's GPS, proving this was a trap by Director Lee to use him as bait to lure Haekong out. Haji warned Haekong not to go, but because Lizard is family, Haekong still decided to save him. Meanwhile, Lizard was taken to an abandoned warehouse by Director Lee, locked in a crate, and left to die. Always making a dangerous situation humorous, he even asked to stretch his legs because of a cramp, but Secretary Kim closed the lid, making him panic because he was both afraid of heights and claustrophobic. Lizard blamed Lee for breaking his promise because before that, he had promised that as long as he took the money, he would spare everyone. It turns out the night before, Lee's henchmen came to Haekang's house and threatened that about 30 people were waiting outside and would barge in if Lizard didn't cooperate. Because he wanted to protect everyone, he had to take the money and give it to Lee, only hoping he would keep his word. But Lee coldly declared that was exactly his way of doing business. You have to cheat, find weaknesses, threaten, take advantage, and then betray to be successful. Lizard believed Haekong wouldn't come because he had run off with the fund, but Lee asserted Haekong would definitely show up. Sure enough, the warehouse door burst open and Haekong appeared, calling Lee's name directly. Lizard was both crying and angry that Haekong actually came to save him. Haekong asked if he was okay and then declared that anyone who touches his family would pay the price. Lee immediately ordered his henchmen to handle Haekong. Then he locked the warehouse door, gave the key to a henchman, and told them to clean up the scene after killing both Haekong and Lizard. He even left an envelope of money in front of the door as payment for the killers and walked away. Haekong told Lizard absolutely not to come out. He told him to close his eyes, cover his ears, and wait for him. Then he lunged into the middle of the henchmen alone. Lizard tried to roll the crate to get out, but when he saw the fight was too fierce, he hid his head back inside out of fear. Right when Haekong was almost surrounded, Bum's dad, the Glasses brother, the Chubby brother, and the other brothers showed up just in time and took down all the henchmen. Even though everyone was covered in injuries, they were still happy because they had protected each other. After the battle, everyone finally realized that Lizard never actually betrayed Haekong. He only agreed to hand over the money because he wanted to protect everyone. Haekong also understood that lost money can be found again, but a family member who is gone can never be brought back. Lizard was moved and said he was also part of Haekang's family, and Haekong replied that those who eat together, fight together, and bleed for each other are a family. Back home, the whole group was in such bad shape that it made Haji both worried and angry, scolding everyone for constantly jumping into a death trap. The curly lady was also disappointed because they went to find the money but only brought Lizard back. However, she was determined to sue by any means to get the fund back. Ha Dong thought that with the ledger along with her and the manager's confession, the lawsuit would be tough, but there was still a chance. When they worried about having no money for the lawsuit, the lady immediately said if they lacked money, they would go earn it, and she would mobilize the residents to file the lawsuit together. The next morning, Lee was furious when he learned that Haekong and Lizard were still alive, and at the same time discovered that the police had searched his company. The exclusive club had turned its back because Lee caused too much trouble and was no longer providing benefits. He understood that the chief had also become a lapdog for the old men in the club, so he decided to go meet them and knelt down to beg for his life. Lee promised to clean up the TG World farm, destroy the documents, and give them money as a gift. Secretary Kim placed 2 bags of money in front of the elders, and Lee bowed his head deeply. But clearly, this was just an act for him to protect himself and Tezin. Meanwhile, Haekong and everyone else deployed their plan at TG World. Ha-ji and her teammates posed as a civil inspection team to enter the farm for an environmental check. Meanwhile, Haekong found Manager Sun, the person involved in Dong Man's death. Haekong handed him an envelope containing messages and criminal transaction history, saying he had intentionally waited for the evidence to become more complete instead of exposing him from the very beginning. Right after that, the police appeared at TG World. A series of cars drove in, and the guards couldn't stop them. The police dug up the area and discovered many bodies buried under the trees. Haji watched the scene in horror, and all the guards were arrested. The news later confirmed that 12 sets of remains were buried in a mass grave, turning the case into a serial murder and body-hiding investigation. Lee was officially placed on the National Wanted list. Tezin also had its construction contract for the OM Man urban project cancelled and faced the risk of losing all public projects. Watching his empire collapse, Lee both laughed and cried, but his eyes were still cold, showing he hadn't given up yet. The next morning, even though he was wanted, Lee still appeared at the apartment park and sent a photo to Haekong saying he was on the rooftop. Haekong ran there immediately. Lee said Bum had been taken home safely, then pointed to the money in front of him and said this was all the money Haekong had risked his life to find. He admitted Haekong had ruined his lifelong masterpiece, and now it was just a pile of scrap paper, then suggested Haekong take the money home, become a hero, and receive all the praise. Haekong warily asked what he wanted. Lee thought the two of them were the same because they both chased after money, but Haekong argued that he only took back what belonged to him, while Lee only stole what belonged to others. That was the difference between them. Lee still believed the one who can steal money will become a king, and the one who gets robbed is the fool. He believed he could still revive Tezin, and that Haekong was too naive to think life was simple. Haekong just looked at him with pure pity. That look reminded Lee of Dong Man, who looked at him the same way before he died. Lee confessed he was the one who pulled the life support plug on Dong Man while he was dying, just because he couldn't stand that look of pity. Haekong lunged at Lee in a rage, punched him, and picked up a knife. Lee taunted him, telling him to stab him so he'd become a killer too, making them both criminals. But Haekong remembered Dong Man's words and stopped. He realized killing Lee would just set him free, so he declared he wouldn't kill him. Instead, he'd let him live and face the music for everything he'd done. Haekong said he finally understood why Dong Man felt sorry for Lee. It's because Lee doesn't know how to live like a real human being. Haekong tossed the knife down, packed all the money into suitcases, and left, deciding to give it back to the residents. After Haekong thought it was all over, Director Lee suddenly picked up the knife from the floor and came at him. Haekong sensed the danger immediately and delivered a kick that sent Lee flying. He calmly said that even though Lee built this complex, he was never the owner, and Haekong never even saw him as a real rival. After saying that, Haekong dragged the 2 suitcases of cash away, leaving Lee lying on the roof with a bitter smile. At the management office, the curly lady, the manager, and everyone else were nervously talking about the maintenance fund, wondering if Lee would pay it back or just take the fall and keep the cash. Right then, Haekong showed up with 2 massive suitcases of money. The curly lady asked in shock if he robbed Lee, but Haekong insisted he didn't rob anyone, he just found what belonged to the residents. When the 2 suitcases were opened, everyone exploded with joy because the missing money was finally back. The curly lady immediately told them to take the money to the bank to count it, and after confirming it was all there, she screamed happily that they found the money. Haekong quietly walked away after finishing the job, but the curly lady called him back, sincerely thanked President Haekong, and told him not to let himself get hurt anymore. Meanwhile, Director Lee was being treated at the hospital like a VIP patient, but he had a new pair of handcuffs on. The chief came to see him and passed on a message from the elders in the exclusive club. Lee had to take the fall for everything so the people behind him could get away. Lee realized with bitterness that he was being turned into a sacrificial lamb. Even though he had spent a ton of money and handled countless people for the club, the chief even handed Secretary Kim an important document, saying if the contents got out, the elders would be in deep trouble, while offering a huge pile of money to keep him quiet. Lee understood that even the people who once backed him were trying to cash in while he was down. Meanwhile, Haekong, Haji, Lizard, Bum's dad, chubby brother, Ha Dong, and everyone else got ready for life after the storm. The next day, Lee was taken to court. The chief prosecutor called and told him to try and blame the statute of limitations or a management error to buy time and wait for the drama to die down. Lee got out of the car in front of a bunch of reporters, bowed in apology, and declared that the suspicions against him were baseless, while promising to cooperate with the prosecution to clear things up. But Lee had no idea Haekong had prepared a final counterattack. Haekong and everyone else drove a truck in front of the court and declared that today was the day he would personally end it all. After that, they played the recording of the conversation on the rooftop. In it, Lee admitted to killing Dong Man by pulling the plug. Lee was stunned and immediately shouted that the recording was a fake. Haekong continued to pull out a second piece of evidence, the conversation between Lee and the chief about the cover-up plan, trying to dodge responsibility and silence people who knew the truth. That's when the truth came out. The nurse who came to take Lee's temperature was actually Haji in disguise. She had quietly recorded the whole talk between Lee and the chief. When Lee's henchmen lunged to steal the evidence, Lizard was pushed down. Haji immediately screamed that they were trying to destroy the evidence. Haekong was furious, but everyone held him back. He calmly said Lee brought this all on himself. And this time he wasn't alone because Haekong had a family by his side. After that, Lee was taken into the court, and the people who once stood behind him were caught one by one or failed to run away. From the chief prosecutor and the civil secretary to the chief and manager's son, everyone had to face the law. At the management office, Everyone kept praising President He Kong for saving the maintenance fund and protecting the residents. That evening, He Kong was sitting alone on the sofa when Bum woke up and said that earlier he had played on the swings with Lee. Lee once said Bum was very lucky because he had so many people protecting him, which made him feel jealous because in his whole life, no one had ever stood up to protect him. Bum also noticed that at that time Lee looked very sad and he intended to invite him to eat ice cream, but Lee had already left. He Kong smiled, rubbed Bum's head, and explained that Lee was sad not because he had no one to protect him, but because he never knew how to protect others. Bum asked, "You probably aren't sad, right, uncle? Because you have a lot of people who need protecting." After saying that, the boy ran off to sleep, leaving He Kong alone smiling. In the room, Haji and her sister couldn't sleep. They talked about their childhood when Haji was born, making the older sister, Ha Dong, feel like their parents' love was being shared. The sister admitted she used to be jealous of Haji, secretly pinching her while she slept, getting her toys dirty, soaking her favorite shoes, and drawing on her doll. Haji remembered it all but didn't blame her sister because she understood that after their parents passed away, her sister became the only relative always by her side. Haji thanked her sister for always trying and giving her the best things. The next morning, Haji took her older sister Ha Dong and the manager to court to testify and take responsibility for faking the books. Before going in, Ha Dong encouraged Haji to try to become a lawyer to take care of herself later. Bum's dad also called Haji over, encouraged her to be strong, and called her by the nickname Mango, which made everyone a bit confused. After that, Haji went back home and met He Kong. He brought a resident petition along with a lawyer's contact list, saying that her sister and the manager would be released soon. Everyone happily prepared to leave and took a family photo together as a souvenir. Looking at the close people by his side, He Kong was so moved his eyes turned red. He took the photo to Dong Man's grave, saying that he had taken revenge for his father and was about to leave for a while, so he hoped Dong Man up there would help him watch over everyone. Don't let the family cause trouble. 3 years later, everyone's lives had changed. Ha Dong became the owner of a bakery, and the manager worked as an employee helping her. Bum's dad and Ha Dong also became a family and worked together at the bakery. The Glasses brother studied law hard to become a lawyer, and the chubby brother worked at a fast food joint but ate too much, making the owner helplessly ask him to quit, but he used labor laws to stay. At this time, everyone received a text from He Kong after many years. It turned out he had opened a law firm. Haji also just became a lawyer after 3 years of effort and was invited by He Kong to work there. Lizard, thanks to good rehabilitation, also got a reduced sentence and returned early. Those who once stood side by side in the battle years ago finally reunited. However, the apartment complex quickly ran into new trouble when manager Choi secretly swapped contracts, putting residents at risk of paying a fine of up to 600 million. The curly lady immediately invited He Kong and Haji to settle it. He Kong appeared as the head of the misconduct inspection team, and Haji was the lawyer representing the residents. They presented evidence of a bribe transferred to an anonymous account related to the contract team, proving the contract showed signs of fraud and had no legal value. Thanks to that, the residents didn't have to pay the 600 million won, and the contract was cancelled immediately. Everyone happily clapped and agreed to let He Kong be a special inspector for 1 month. Finally, He Kong, Haji, and the brothers returned to the apartment, officially starting a new life. After all the schemes, violence, and loss, they no longer had to fight with their fists but could use the law to protect everyone.